Hey everybody, welcome to episode 49 of the Reptile Rejects podcast. This morning we got on Adam Sehy of The Expert and the Idiot. So I'm sure all you guys have listened to his podcast as it started. Has it only been on for like a year and a half, 2 years maybe?
2 years now. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Almost to the date. It's June 1st is the anniversary of the show. So going into the third season.
Isn't it cool to know that you lasted that long? Like, I feel so many podcasts last like, the typical 3 to 7 shows and then they just disappear. Like 2 years is pretty damn good. And you've got some pretty damn good traction, man. Like, honestly, it's one of I'd say you're in the like top 3 reptile podcasts for me anyway. So I really freaking enjoy it. Like, you're doing a great job, man.
Man, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say. It is kind of crazy, starting it and getting it going was the hardest part. But yeah, what you said really resonates with me, because there are quite a few podcasts that have come up and I'll listen to them and enjoy them, and then when they disappear, it's sad. Even if you listen to it and you kind of only tune in every now and then, like if they go without recording for 3 or 4 months, all of a sudden you're like, oh man, what happened to what's his face? He threw in the towel, and yeah, so I mean, I just keep hammering away, 1 episode a week. I have not missed a single week. And actually I do 5 episodes a month. So there's usually one week out of the month where there's a Wednesday or a Thursday episode that comes out.
Yeah, it's always a bonus. It's like, oh damn, there's already another one out. Yeah, something else to listen to.
That's cool to hear that. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no.
Do you go by Michael or Mike?
Yeah, everybody just calls me Michael. Only a couple people actually call me Mike. I don't really care either way, though.
What do you prefer? I mean, you have to have a preference.
So Adam, just to let you know, in the past 2 weeks, ever since his hair has gotten that long, now it's just afro. You can just skip the whole mic thing, because I mean, look at the size of that thing. Like, honestly, just call him by what it looks like.
I wanted to say that because I was going to say, Mike, every time I tune in, I feel like your hair has gotten bigger.
Right? Like, that shit's impressive.
Did you guys ever see? I think it was Scary Movie 2 or 3. But they were making fun of the movie Signs, and the police officer in the movie, every scene she's in, the brim of her hat gets bigger and bigger until it's just like this gigantic thing. That's what it made me think of. That's a deep cut, though. That's like I think that's like a late 90s, early 2000s movie.
I feel like I've seen that, like where they purposely just size it up a little bit to see how long it takes until you notice it. I feel like that's what Mike's doing.
Oh, yeah. I'll get a cut eventually.
I mean...
All right, Adam. Oh, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say, with volume like that, you might as well just keep, see how far it'll go before it falls over,
Yeah, get that good 80s mullet going.
Yeah, heck
90s
yeah, mullet. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. Adam, we're going to put you on hold just for a second. Definitely the show's going to be all about you, but I just want to hit up 2-3 things. Mike, how about we talk about what's new with you this season or this week? Anything new going on with you?
Not too much. I think I'm picking up the blue tongues from Tyrone sometime this weekend. Kentucky Pine is getting ready to lay, so she's moving everything. She's kind of hunkered down in her lay box and has kind of rearranged it. I still think the black milk's kind of going into shed soon because she's looking pretty thick. And the Transpagos rat snakes I just kind of left the 3 of them all together. They don't really want to eat when they're in kind of breeding season anyway, so I've kind of left them alone for the last month. They put on weight pretty easily, so I'm not too worried with them. Gonna start deep cleaning everything because it's time for that kind of deep clean after a couple months since I moved. So yeah, and then newts are still growing. Tortoises are doing good. I think I need to build an outdoor pen for them so I can kind of let them. I can just like kind of do garden work and bring them out and just let them kind of trot around instead of getting into the garden and whatnot. And I don't want them to eat anything that I'm not sure about. So yeah, but the garden's going well. Actually, the house is looking pretty good. I need to probably clean up a few things in the yard, but it's all going well. Although it's getting hot now, so I'm gonna wait for my grass just to die, and then it'll be fine. Then I don't have to cut it for until like September. Although it actually looks pretty good now, and we're supposed to get thunderstorms for the next like week, so we'll see. Although the last week was supposed to be thunderstorms as well, and it was just hot, and they never really came. So yeah, we'll see. I guess I'll say our sponsor as well at this point, so I don't forget to say it half an hour in. Reptile Rejects is proudly sponsored by Cornell's World. Cornell's World is one of North America's leaders in reptile caging and supplies. Greg West can ship anything basically throughout North America. He's based in Calgary. And yeah, he builds custom PVC cages, standard PVC cages and racks, custom glass terrariums, all your standard reptile supplies from Spider Robotics to ReptiRad heat panels to Vivarium Electronics to Arcadia, Zoomed, Exoterra. You can order on cornellsworld.com, as well as we are sponsored by the Western Canadian Reptile Expo. Go check out wcre.ca and pre-purchase your tickets for upcoming reptile shows. Also check out what shows are coming up. We got the Medicine Hat show in a month. That'll be fun. And then we got the big Calgary show in August. So go, if you're in Southern Alberta, come check that out. It's the biggest reptile expo in Western Canada, and it'll be a great weekend with tons of good vendors. So if you haven't pre-purchased your tickets yet, go purchase them or your VIP hour pass and take advantage of those deals. But other than that, Dom, what's going on with you this week?
I'm trying to think. Actually, not that much. You know what? It's the first week that I didn't have any dying eggs in my incubator, so it's a good start. I've had, for some reason, man, such a problem with rot this year. I decided to just remove everything that was bad, and somehow it worked out well. I actually had one of my egg boxes like whenever I moved it, man, I swear all the eggs rolled. Like, you know how like you're always paranoid and everybody tells you it's fine, the eggs don't roll, but you're always careful, right? Anyway, I picked one up and freaking man, 5 of the 6 eggs like just rolled like 3-4 360s all the way hitting the back wall. I'm like, oh shit, this isn't good. But anyway, picked them up, put them all back. And it's one of those years where for some reason I didn't mark the top of the egg because everybody says like, why do you mark the top of the egg? You really don't need to, and you hear that all the time. And like this year, I'm just like, I'm not going to mark it. So we will see if it's an actual problem this year. The eggs are still looking good. If they hatch, and I can confirm that you can do somersaults with your eggs in the incubator and they will still hatch. If they don't hatch, well, remember this podcast and use me as an example as to what not to do with eggs in the incubator. Except for that, animals are doing great. I think I'm down to 2 females that are not eating that might still be gravid, but like we're really at the end of the season, right? So I might have 1 or 2 jungle go. Honestly, I think it's not going to happen. Diamond pythons they're my only like spring breeders, but you know, I suck at breeding diamond pythons. They're not knocking up and they're not showing interest, so I don't think I'm going to get it. But in my defense, I think the female's like a year too young. So hopefully next year is going to be my year. Except for that, fed everything this morning. I was trying to get all that done before. It's really weird, man. I'm like looking at my freezer, and it's one of the first times I can actually see the bottom of the freezer, which is really not a good sign because usually I have, you know, like at least 1,000 rats in there. Yeah, life is good. Animals are good. It's kind of cool doing a podcast during the day instead of at nighttime, so I won't look half dead. I keep getting the complaint. No, but I keep getting the complaint of like, Dom, you look like half asleep, or I won't have to complain at like 10:30 at night saying, guys, I got to get up at 4 tomorrow morning. So we have to cut this short or let Mike do it on his own after a while. So Adam, you're getting me fully awake today, which is kind of nice. Had my coffee ready to go. And yeah, man, life is good. So I think we should hit it up with Adam. Let's just start with a nice and simple, man. How have you been? How's your collection? How's life?
Everything's pretty good. This is my first day off in like 2 weeks. I worked 120 hours in 12 days, and which is rough. I work 7 or no, I'm sorry. I work until 7 to 8 p.m. at night on second shift, and it makes it really, really hard to take care of animals at the end of the day when my kids wake up at about 5:45, 6 a.m. So it's like and sleep is such a huge priority for me. If I don't get my 6 to 7 hours, ideally 7 hours, I'm a mess. So yeah, like, and I don't do well, like in the evening, I'm off. Like I'm just like mentally turned off. I mean, I work outside. My job can be very demanding physically. So at the end of the day, I'm usually just shot, I'm totally just zonked out, and I have a commute as well. It's probably about 90 minutes, round trip, per day is spent on the road. So between all that, it's doing that little 12-day go there. It's hard to really give thorough care to the animals. So I made sure that the waters got done, and I kind of went through with a flashlight and scoop poops where I could, and pulled. I think my oldest son told me that there was a shed in a cage, and I'm like, that can wait. That's not a big deal, and just kind of let that one slide. But yeah, everybody's good. Nagini's in shed, which I feel the worst for her. She's just such a big, massive snake, Argentine boa, and her head like swells, and she just looks like this monstrous dragon, just in her hide, and you can just tell she feels miserable. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be breeding her this season or not. That remains to be seen. I think my male is too young. So I'm probably going to wait another year on that. I think my spotted pythons for sure. This year I'm going to be pairing them up, which I'm excited to do. And, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. My diamonds are eating again, now that it's nice and hot out. And yeah, that's about that.
Nice. Let's go into your spotted pythons for just a little bit. I've had spotted pythons for, I don't know, probably like 6 or 7 years. I bred them a few times, and I'll be honest, I got rid of them for, I don't know, I guess I lost interest, but mine were like literally like little devils. I don't know about yours.
They
Like they were
are.
one of the most aggressive, food oriented animals. Like it didn't matter what you did. You would move near the cage, they were striking. You would bring like any object. It didn't matter. Like if I had a water can, or if I had like, I don't know, tongs or a hook, they would grab the hook, everything. They were little psychos. So eventually I moved them on, bred them a couple of years, and I just wanted to make a note today. I gave some babies to Shan Melanson, that's on our show often too, and he just had eggs today. So, which is kind of cool. He had the babies of my babies, which I think is just awesome. And Mike, you're getting some of those babies,
Sweet.
right? I think
yeah.
I owe you a pair. So there's 11 eggs in there. Well, I'm saying I owe you a pair. Let's be honest. I'm giving you Shan's snake, which makes me a very nice person, right? To give somebody else's shit away. So yeah, they did really well. So how old are yours? Do you know, like, do you have lineage? Is there such thing as lineage for spotted pythons in the States, or?
I think so. With these ones, these came from Ryan Young, and they are the stripe spotteds that I believe he imported from Canada, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, that's about everything I know. I haven't really dug into any history beyond that. It'd be a good question for Ryan, though. I mean, I like the striped spotted pythons. They have a nice contrast to them as well. The ones that I was able to pick out, and but yeah, I mean, talking about how psychotic they are. My younger female. So I think my older female is over 3 now, over 3 years old, and my younger one is 2. So she won't. I definitely won't try her, but I'll probably try the 3-year-old and see how she does. I mean, she's eating weaned rats now, maybe every 2 or 3 weeks or so. Yeah, but my younger female, I went to go feed her a mouse, and she bit her own self, and and it was like she spun her head and just bit her neck, like maybe 3/4 of an inch or an inch behind the back of her head.
You gotta love that. And then they constrict themselves and just stay there for like 3-4
She
minutes, like you're an idiot. Like,
just flopped around, and it was like every time she would move, she would make herself freak out more. I mean, yeah, so there cannot be very much going on there. They're just so food oriented, like you said, and just motivated to feed all the time. And yeah, so I don't know. I'd be curious if even my male, who actually came from Jeff Bergner through Ryan Young. It was, I believe Ryan had sold him a pair and he produced some, and Ryan had a light year on males. I think he had almost all females. And so Ryan hooked me up with a female from him and a male from Nick. And yeah, that was, the male was great, and I was like, boy, hats off to you, Nick. Your spotteds are really chill and mellow, and this male's really cool. And then once I put him into his 3x2 by 1.5 tall, that's in feet. I'm sorry, guys. It's 1 meter wide, 2/3 of a meter feet deep.
Like, Canada's weird, man. We use feet in centimeters. It's interchangeable. Like, if you're talking about construction, everything's in feet. Like, if you go to Home Depot, it's a 4x8 sheet, right? If you use, it's a 2x4. So we use inches for constructions. We use centimeters for other things. For height of people, it's feet. Like, some people use it in centimeters. Every time somebody tells me, like, I'm 190 centimeters, I'm like, I have no idea what that means. Like, you're 5'11", you're what?
Oh,
like,
okay,
to me,
cool.
It means absolutely nothing. So when it comes to caging, it's all about, we use feet. When it comes to temperatures, most Canadians also use Fahrenheit only for reptiles. Purely because everything you listen to is in Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, I'm used to it. I don't even know what my cages are in Celsius. But when it comes to outside, that's Celsius. Water temperatures, everything is Celsius. Like, whenever you guys talk about your Fahrenheit temperature outside, I have no freaking clue what you're talking about.
So anyway, I think Adam Wickens told me, or he sent me something on Instagram, and it said like the ovens too, right? Do you guys do ovens in Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
It was like all these. It was so crazy, dude. Watching the back and forth between, like, outside is Celsius and an oven is Fahrenheit, and
it's mainly because of like selling markets, right? Like, if you sell certain things a certain way, it's just going to spread that way, right? And like, I don't know, you guys are all over the place too. You use the metric and what the heck's the other system? Metric and man, I'm blanking out here. No one's going to help me. Imperial.
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah. So like, we switched so many things. Like, if you talk about camera lenses, you talk about your 9mm guns. I'm going to bring it up because of the States there, and you guys love your guns. Like, everything is all, you keep switching.
Well, to be fair, that's only European guns, that because there's European rounds. So like that, like here in the States, we have calibers. So we have 45 caliber, right? 40 caliber, things like that. And as far as I'm aware, the European designed ammunition is all in millimeters. Fun fact.
Yeah, so I know nothing about guns, so I'm just going to drop that one. But anyway, going back to your cage sizes, if you tell me a 4x2, we all know that's a 4 foot by 2 foot cage. You're all good. When it comes to reptiles, we pretty much talk all the same talk because, we hear it all the time. We all listen. There's so few Canadian podcasts or anything like that everybody here is listening to Americans.
Yeah.
Mainly Americans, right? Or maybe a few Australians, but most people are Americans that do podcasts.
Yeah, I remember asking an Australian, I was like, what is an American accent sound like to you? Like, can you do an American accent? And he just said it just sounds normal, because we're raised on American accents, on American media and everything, it's really interesting. Especially because I am American, so it's like I can't fathom that world where I'd be consuming like Australian TV. Although, I mean, like you got Steve Irwin and everything, right? So like that, I don't know. Maybe I do totally understand what he was talking about, and I just don't realize it.
Yeah, that's true. Although it's funny, like even like look, I grew up in Vancouver, right? But then you go down to Washington, and like Washington people, like some of them sound normal, and others have like a weird different accent thing. That's like not very different, but like you're like that's just weird how you sound different, even though you're right beside us, basically, right?
Yeah, my in-laws have property like 45 minutes south of Canada, and yeah, there's some rednecks there, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, so I moved that spotted python into his 3x2 by 1.5 tall, and now he's a little psycho. I don't know what it is. I mean, dude, even changing water bowls or trying to scoop poop is not a safe activity. Luckily they're tiny snakes, but like you go in there and they're zeroed in, and yeah, they're wild little shits. Sorry. Or do you guys curse? My bad.
Oh yeah.
You are allowed to curse away. I mean,
Okay.
all the children have just left the building, but except for that, you're good.
Okay. All right.
So, we're good, man. Unfortunately, I tend to swear probably more than Mike. I don't even know, Mike. Do you ever swear? I don't think I've ever heard you
Oh,
swear.
I can swear, but
He's like,
but
oh, heck yeah, I can swear.
I think the difference between Mike is Mike actually tries to be careful. I just don't care.
Well, just for the record, this is me being very careful.
No, honestly, Adam, like, just speak freely. Doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I have to censor myself. There's utilities me that's at work, and then there is me not at work, and that is censored me at all times. Trying to be a somewhat respectable human being.
All good. All good. So going back to the spotteds, what I like about the spotteds, though, that food response makes them one of the easiest babies to feed when you get neos. They all ate for me. I think I've had 3 clutches in total, and they all ate, all perfect feeders, all had 0 issues, which makes them great for that. And the second thing I was going to say, you said that you want to wait at least 3 years. Being a smaller pythons, they reach maturity very fast, and I know a lot of people that have bred them at 2 years, just because if you look at them, they're a prey source, right? Let's be honest. Like out there, they get eaten by everything. Their biological is just telling them reproduce, so they go really fast. And I don't know, I'm trying to think. I think I might have bred one of my females as early as 2 years, might have been 3, right? But I think you probably would have had no issues whatsoever, and they're insanely easy to breed. Literally just put male and female together, they'll do the rest.
Did you guys ever have issues in regard, or did you, Dom, ever have any issues as far as breeding too early?
Breeding too early, like, are you thinking like
with the spotted specifically, if you're breeding them at 2 or 3 years, did you ever have any egg binding? Like, how are your clutch sizes? Obviously, like every bit of concern that I have about breeding my animals prematurely is just that I don't want complications. I want a well-matured animal. And also I don't want to breed them too early, utilize their biological resources for nothing, run into some complications or slug out or whatever, and then have to wait for them to have a good clutch anyway. Like in my mind, I'm trying to think, like, just wait until they are 100% ready and then go into it.
So I have not ever had any complications with the spotteds.
Okay.
So spotted specifically, no. I bred them I honestly, I do have it. If I went and actually pulled up my records, I could tell you exactly when. But they tend to push out clutches of around 8 to 12 eggs. I don't know the exact size. I can talk like generally about like Liasis and Morelia. If I breed females at a young age, which would be for Morelia probably more like the 2.5 stage to like just under 3.
Mm-hmm.
I have always had uh, same amount of good fertility as any other 4, 5, 6, 7 year old female. The only difference that I've noticed if you breed a young female is you will have slightly smaller clutches.
Mm.
So purely based on the fact that, let's say, I don't know, if you have a spotted that, at 3, 4 years old will be a good 3 feet and probably like, I don't know, a little bit bigger than a quarter round for Americans, like it's going to have a nice, decent size compared to a 1.5, like just under 2 years old. Well, probably slightly smaller. That doesn't change it. They're still going to have the same size eggs.
Mm.
They're just going to have less. So like Shan had his first clutch on the babies. I think his are 3 years old. And his clutch, I think, had, I'd have to look, but either 11 or 12 eggs.
Mm.
And they're big, plumpy, zero infertile or duds. And they look great. And if I all my 3 clutches, I think I had almost all 100% fertility. So as a general rule, no. But then you can. So I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it from a lot of people that say each snake have a finite amount of follicles, right? So I don't know if that's proven or not. I kind of like the idea, but if you tell yourself that, let's say your spotted pythons in its lifetime will have 200 follicles, right? So if it is true, and I've heard it from many people that are much, much smarter than me, so I'm guessing it's most likely true. So you could argue and say, well, if you start them too early, you might be wasting some of those follicles. Although, again, like most people will tell you, if you get 2 or 3 clutches from a python's, you're golden, right? You're lucky.
Mm.
If you get more than that, then anything more than that is just gravy. Because most people, you look at most females, not many people have any type of python and have them go 7, 8, 9 years in a row, right?
Yeah.
That being said, a spotted python is built to reproduce. It literally, like when you talk about much larger snakes, you're looking at an animal that is, can go a couple of years in between. Spotted pythons are like mice, right? They reproduce knowing that the majority of them will get eaten by everything. So I think personally, when you're talking about smaller pythons, you can get them to go earlier. You can get them to go every single year with no issues.
Mm.
So I don't have spotteds anymore, but I've got pygmies, and for my female pygmies have bred, I think 4 or 5 years in a row now, and I've had, I think, either 95 to 100% fertility rate on their eggs. This is the first year where they didn't go, and they've bred the last 4 or 5 years in a row. Now, honestly, I still bred them. They locked up. They just didn't produce.
Wow.
So now is that going to hurt them in the long run? I think that's something you have to decide for yourself, right? Like, why do you have your snakes? If your goal is to have a snake and keep it for 30 years and you just want a beautiful pet and you never want anything to happen, then don't breed, right? Like if you want everything to be perfect and have an animal live forever, don't feed it too often. Give it a long period where you don't feed him during winter. Don't have your temperatures too, and for God's sakes, never ever breed your females. Right? There's nothing more dangerous than breeding your females. So, will breeding them too young cause a problem? I've never had problems because they're too young, but I have had a lot of problems because I've bred females.
Mm.
Like I've had females almost die a couple of times. I have lost females because of breeding. Again, I'm talking about Morelia and Liasis here, not specifically just spotteds, but so. I don't know. To me, I get more joy out of reproducing. Like, there's nothing cooler than seeing a little baby pop out of its head, right? It never gets old.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that kind of answered. I kind of went all over the place there. But.
No, yeah. I mean, so and how many grams about do you ever weigh your like spotteds prior to breeding them or no?
I'll be honest. I do have a scale.
Yeah.
I like weighing like my coffee to know how much
Sure,
is going in my
I do
Americano.
too. Yeah.
But when it comes to babies, I mean, I've weighed a couple of babies purely by curiosity.
Yeah.
I think they're born around like, honestly, I want to say like in the 12 to 16 grams. I might be off. It's been a long time, but They're barely smaller than carpet pythons. They're not that small, but if you look at like the pygmy pythons were insane. Like pygmy pythons were 6-7 grams, like something ridiculous. Like that was just scary. The spotteds, I fed them. They were eating pinky mice, no problem. Like no problem. You could even start them on fuzzies.
Interesting.
So I don't know their exact weight, but honestly, it's not a problematic species. Like if you want a real challenge, get yourself some pygmies. You're gonna lose some hair and get a lot older a lot faster.
Yeah, I don't want that.
But they're cool though. Again, I breed pygmies, but let's be honest, I don't actually raise them. I send them to my buddy, and he takes care of it because I just don't have the patience for that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not good at weighing snakes. Like I used to be really keen for that kind of stuff, and now to me it makes no difference, right? Like if the animal's going to breed, the animal's going to reproduce, whether the baby's tiny. But trying to think, man, I'd have to look at pictures.
Yeah. It's I mean, the finicky feeders is such a pain, especially, you know, when like I have a jungle that is bite, wrap, drop over and over and over, and all she eats is quail. And I recently stepped her up to a quail that looked way too big, and and once it was in her, it looked way too big. But then I swear that put her through a growth spurt. And the next week, not next week, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I gave her another one, and it looked more appropriate, you know. And it's like, boy, I feel like I should have stepped you up maybe sooner now, but at the same time, maybe. But at the same time, that first one looked enormous. You know, it's wild how I feel like giving them the larger food items can really push them into something from a growth perspective. But I don't know if I'm ever going to breed her because she is such a mess when it comes to feeding, you know. And it's like I don't want to pass these genetics on where the young are going to not want anything to do with rodents, you know, where like I don't know if that can be passed on. But God, I don't want to find out, you know, you know, because I'd be sitting on those snakes for probably 2 years because they'd never get to a point where they're feeding to the point where I can say like, hey, yeah, here's a nice jungle, enjoy it, and it feeds on mice, because she'll randomly take a mouse and then 2-3 weeks later she won't take a mouse anymore. It's infuriating. Yeah. I hate it.
So I would say 100% you can pass that trait on. I think it's just like anything, right? If you breed for rodent feeders, if you breed for chick feeders, if you breed for whatever the food source to eat, like look at all the snakes we have in captivity, right? None of them ate the perfect European rats, right? And somehow now they all do, or majority of them do. So 100%. But let's say you bred that female in 5 years when she actually gets to size. It doesn't mean it's not in one generation that like one treble feeder will not change all the prior, let's say like the prior generations before her, right? Because every generation before her probably did eat rats, right? So in one generation, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to push that trait, but could a few of them be passed on? Of course.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of the same idea. Like if you breed snake A and they all eat only like frogs or whatever, and you have one that eats mice, okay, reproducing the one that eats mice might help you get more to eat mice, but maybe 2 of the 10 babies the next generation will eat mice and the other 8 won't. And if you kept breeding only and selecting for animals that are eating rodents, I'm sure you can continuously improve your odds, right? I don't think like, so I'm just saying that I wouldn't necessarily not breed her because you're afraid of that. Now, is it playing against you? It probably is a little bit, but I'm not sure in one generation you're going to reproduce that trait.
Well, and that's my problem too, is that I don't know if the generations prior were all bird eaters too. The breeder is a now shamed from the community.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that, you know, and I can't count on him being honest because my conversations with him, I feel like were all mostly lies, you know, telling me about how these animals were feeding and everything. Once the truth kind of started to come out, then it's like, I can't believe a damn thing you said, and so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to keep her or if I'm going to just maybe give her away to somebody on my Patreon and just find somebody that's interested in a pretty jungle that, isn't going to be interested in breeding, or even if they are and they just, they want to, breed that. But, at the same time, like, my dad likes eating those canned sausages that are absolutely revolting. And my mother-in-law likes eating those as well. So me and my wife should love those, but we don't eat them. And gosh, you'd think, wouldn't that be wild if humans were that way? Like if we had kids and all they'd eat would be Vienna sausages.
That'd be funny. I think it's more like, I think stuff's when they're born, obviously, like I think there is a bit of like they've kind of learn to eat what they want to eat, but I think it's also kind of the options you give them. Like you hear Tony Dengar and that talk, or some of the other like those, what is it, Eastern milks, or some of those like oddball milk snakes that those niche guys keep, and you can't give them lizards or else they'll never get off. But if you start them on pinkies, some like whether it's a bit of scent in a or boiled pinks or split head open pinks, and you can get them started on that, and then you just keep them on that. But if you got them lizards, then they would only want that. I feel like stuff has like a base model where you can, as long as you stick with the rodents, they'll be fine. Like I've had a couple, one male Kentucky for a couple of years. He only wanted quail and chicks kind of thing. Like I got him and he was feeding rats and mice, no problem. And then I was like, well, because I was back in Vancouver, I was able to get quail super often, and it was way cheaper than feeding rodents, and I could get like various size quail, and I could always double, triple it up kind of thing. So I wasn't like underfeeding them. But now that I live out here, all I have is chicks, and I don't really want to feed adult snakes like a bunch of chicks, like occasionally for sure. But I'd prefer to feed like an older animal. So I've reverted back to feeding rats, because actually my buddy sells rats, and they're a lot cheaper here than they were in Vancouver as well. But on the other, so that guy, I was able to switch him back over to rats kind of thing finally after a couple of years. But yeah, no, it was tough feed it because they just want he just wanted chicks, which was kind of fine because he's just a male, so I'm not worried about getting him huge. He's already up to adult size, but it's just annoying when it's like, well, I have to get chicks for this one snake. And same as I had a Woma python that also only wanted chicks, but then I kind of let them fast because some males seem to go through a cycle anyways, and they go kind of through the winter, don't eat. So you can kind of, if you bring them out and make sure they're hungry kind of thing, you can get them to take some rats after that. So I find if you have like a reset in the winter, it might help you. But yeah, I think if you just kind of don't offer them that extra meal that they might want to get hooked onto, they seem to stay on track. But that's also kind of annoying because I like to change up food as well. Nice nutsack cat there, Donald.
Come on, isn't she gorgeous?
Is that your friend that starts your pygmy pythons and all of its hair fell out?
That should be a t-shirt.
Right? Come on, my nutsack cat is so cute.
Oh yeah. How are those Timors going for you, Adam?
They're okay. Well? I don't touch them. They stay in their cages. I've kind of given up. They're just a stressed out, flighty snake. I mean, it seems like once they're out and in my hand, and they realize that I have no ill intent, they really calm down. But it's that initial yoink out of the cage, no matter how slow or fast it goes. They just try to get away, relieve themselves, and then seem to calm down. And it's such a bizarre thing that after having them for 3 years, that they haven't caught on yet that I am not ever going to eat them. That every interaction is I'm not a falcon, dropping out of the sky to grab them, or a Komodo dragon. So yeah, They're awesome. I mean, they're beautiful. They're so soft. They are fairly cage defensive. They can be. I mean, they're very, food motivated. But and I was thinking about that too. Just how great carpet pythons are for pets as pet snakes, because they might want to eat, obviously, and they might be keyed into you when you come into their enclosure. But even when I feed my carpets, there's sort of like a 2 or 3 second delay where they sort of look and they confirm and then they bite and wrap. They don't come out of the front of the enclosure with their mouth open, which is how my boa imperators are. They'll strike the glass. My not retics. My Timor pythons very much have that sort of retic response where it's just mouth wide open and coming out of the front of the cage. It's very very motivated to feed. But yeah, I'm trying to, they seem like they grow fairly slowly. The female's really taken off leaps and bounds compared to the male. But I don't think I'll be trying them until they're at least 5 or 6 years old. I mean, that's kind of what Ryan said. I think it took him until his were 10 to reproduce.
Yeah.
So, and I'm hoping that just having them in a very stable environment and in the same cage where they perch up in the same spot, and it's very consistent cyclical temperature swings, and I'm hoping that will all kind of go in my favor for reproducing them successfully one day.
Yeah, for sure.
I've always find it weird how Timors are such large pythons, and yet they act like a scared prey source, right? Like if you compare most, like you're talking about carpets, like most carpets are more, let's say, bitey or defensive, and they grow out of it, right? As soon as they get some size to them, eventually they're 95% of them, even with very minor handling, tamed down. But Timors have that response of just you touch them, they're flighty, they musk all over you and all that. They're also similar to a lot of scrub pythons, right? Like that, you pick them up and they just piss all over you. Like there's nothing worse than that. And you would think after 3 years, like if you handle a carpet python for 3 years, guaranteed they're all tamed. Doesn't matter how aggressive it is.
Yep.
Right. But yeah, so the only thing I was going to say, I don't keep Timors, but we do have a pair of scrubs. And we had the same problem where they would musk all over us, and we'd have the similar issues. And so they're at Shan's place, and he decided to move them to a much larger cage. And a lot of their behaviors has changed. Like a lot of that defensive in the cage, a lot of the things. So it seems to have improved. And I find like sometimes the complete opposite to that is, right? Sometimes you have an animal that's not doing well, and actually putting them in a smaller cage seems to help. So I don't know if that would help in any way or not, or if you've tried going really large or tried going really small.
I haven't. I mean, they were initially in tubs, which I really enjoyed because I could easily pull them out. It was just lift up the hide, grab them. Now that they have branches and things that they can wrap around, it's almost impossible to get them out once they're anchored onto a branch. There's zero chance. But yeah, I've thought about upgrading them to 6x2x2s, and I don't know if that, right now they're just in 4x2x2s. They will get upgraded at some point, and I should probably do that sooner rather than later, just so that way they have a place that they're more acclimated to. But and honestly, I would probably do 6x2x2.5 tall. I find that extra half a foot of height is it's kind of shocking, especially with their semi-arboreal nature and always sort of going up into the branches. Mine are either up in the branches or in their hide. And generally they're only in the hide when they're in shed. Otherwise they really love perching up and kind of watching from the highest place possible.
So just a thought. I'm kind of looking at your cages behind, and I'm assuming that gap between your cages is what, to put light bulbs or to put
Yeah.
things like that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've always heard of this, and I have, well, I do half of it. So if you had a large cage, you probably could use the tub slash cages system for both, right? So inside my cages, I always have my hide box, or like I've put sliding tracks, and I literally will have, a 30 quarts bin inside a cage with just a small opening, so they can go in. They live in a tub, but they also have their 4x2s. But I've always wondered about animals that kind of like to be arboreal but like to hide and have that fear. Imagine if you had a 4x2 or your 6x2 and all that, and in that slot that I'm seeing in your cage, if you had a large, like, Christmas bin that you could open that and literally pull them out
Oh,
and
yeah.
push them back in. So, and I'm just looking at your cages, and that's all I see. Like, I could see like an underground cage that would be like a tub under, plus the cage. I don't know. I'm just thinking for your Timors. I don't know if they would use it or not. Although they are pretty arboreal, but I don't know if they would hide in the
Oh,
lower cage.
I think
But
they
it's
would
just,
definitely use it for sure. I mean, that's, and I've seen those cages. They make those cages. I know that there's a couple people that make them. I know my guy who's kind of custom made all of my cages at this point. Aside from these were custom reptile habitats, which kind of they went under, and I switched over to him, and he's custom made all my stuff. I mean, he's probably got about $8,000 from me, all said and done, probably somewhere around there. So yeah, it's I know he could do something like that. And honestly, the best candidate for that style setup, in my opinion, would be my indigo snakes, giving them that subterranean hide. I mean, that's what indigos do, right? They go into tortoise burrows, and it's they those two species kind of interact in that way. So I'm sure that giving an indigo that option would be a really cool thing, and probably make it. You could probably even do two tubs, one on one side, on opposing sides, and do maybe one with sphagnum, make it a little bit more humid, make the other one more dry, so they could choose between the two. Yeah, so I don't know, when I have my indigo tubs or indigo cages made, my custom ones, that is something that I'm considering, is doing a sort of subterranean hide that they can go down into, where I could just pull a tub out easily.
Oh, like the Applegate kind of design with the.
Is that the? Yeah,
yeah.
I know. It's funny how many times I've heard them talked about, and I always forget the names of the companies. But yeah, that I really want to do that with the indigos. I think that would probably be the best way to do it.
Oh yeah, I've always wanted to try that with my Kentucky pines as well, because pines are also another one of those, like, in Florida they're in that same niche with the indigos and the gophers, but then obviously in other parts of the range there's no I mean, gopher tortoises, but, well, I guess in the wild pine there are probably some gophers around depending on the region they're into, but yeah, like how other pines too, like they're in the pocket gopher or ground squirrel, whatever local kind of rodent species is a part of that niche kind of thing. It's neat, and it would be cool to kind of see how. I bet a lot of more species than we think about would honestly, like, I'm not sure they'd appreciate it, but it'd be cool to watch them do natural, like, behaviors, like, kind of you would see how often they actually go subterranean, or how much they choose to hide up on the main floor of the cage too. Like, it'd just be neat to see on, like, a bigger scale with a bigger collection, or even at least just a few animals.
Yeah, I really do want to do that. I think that would be really cool. Even if I just do it for the indigos, I think it would just be so cool to watch that behavior, be able to see them, go below. And I would probably have him make sort of a pipe that comes up from the bottom, maybe 2 or 3 inches, maybe 4 inches. So that way it's actually that would be well above the substrate. So that way it's not just, sort of a sinkhole for substrate to just go into the ground. And then once you fill it up with, coconut husk or whatever, it would be about flush with the level of the substrate. And then they could just go up to the hole and go down in there, and then they're tucked away into a secure little tub. I think that would be, I want to do that for sure.
The only thing I'd suggest to that is be careful of how big you make your pipe connection, because I've done a lot of connections in cages. If that pipe is, let's say, instead of being only 3 inches from one cage to the other, if you make it like 6 inches or a little bit bigger than that, the animals will love to just curb and sleep in that
Sure.
pipe.
Yeah, it's a hide.
Because and like it, but sometimes it becomes such a pain in the ass. So like you can't get to anything, you can't move the tub under because they're right at that. I'm just saying, like, it's one of those things where you don't realize the problems you can have because like that connection between both ends up being like a hide that's way too small for them, but they will somehow manage to use as a perfect hide, right? So I don't know, just a thought. I've done it multiple times where every time I've done those connections, if I make the connections too big, it becomes a hide, which I guess is not a bad thing, but you can't get the animals out of there, right? Like that's the kind of thing where if they're in there, you're like, well, I guess you're not eating, or I guess I can't clean your cage until you move from there if it blocks your entrance or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a good consideration. I guess if it's vertical, I guess that would be the only upside, is that hopefully they wouldn't be able to lodge themselves in there. I could definitely see that if it's horizontal going from one cage to another. Yeah, you're essentially giving them a log to curl up inside of.
Yeah, for sure. Have you I know I see the PVC cages and that. Have you ever thought about doing like the odd enclosure, kind of like the Trumbauer style, homemade and with the polyurethane and the natural kind of wood look? I don't know. I've always kind of I see how Craig does his big display pine snake cages and stuff in the books and that, and it's like sometimes you're like that. I kind of like that aesthetic, but then I also love the clean aesthetic of PVC cages, right? Like it's like that kind of modern style, but then there's just something about that like classic like wood finish, wood grain kind of hand built enclosure that as long as you like you put some time into it, like it'll turn out pretty good either way, kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love building things, and like we talked before we started recording. I built a sauna, and I built most of the components for it. From door handles to the vents, things like that. I was looking at buying them and then struggling with figuring out how I was going to, mount something that was made by somebody else that I don't 100% understand what, their idea was behind it. So I kind of just ended up doing literally everything myself. And so I really enjoy that sort of stuff, and finishing things, and, and I mean like finish work, making it look nice. So yeah, like I like the idea of that, but at the same time, I love how easy it is to clean PVC, and I love knowing that there's not a whole lot that you can miss or do something accidentally that could result in something getting moist or moldy or rotting or whatever down the road. And I've built melamine cages before. I remember my father and I built a melamine cage for a bearded dragon when I was a teenager, and that was a lot of fun, and a more arid species. You don't have to worry so much about moisture or anything like that. And then actually once I moved out, I had built, God, they must have been, I have a picture of my wife. We were married at the time, but she's like sitting inside of this cage that I was building, and it was melamine sheets, 8 foot by 4 foot. I can't remember how tall it was. It had to have been 7 feet tall, I think. And it was 2 stories, and it must have been 6 or 8 feet wide, somewhere around there, and just enormous, right? Like they were really large cages that I had kept. I remember getting an Asian water monitor from a a distributor here in Florida. I will not name them. And yeah, it came in just riddled with worms and, emaciated, and it was a terrible experience. But then I had a tegu in there as well, and yeah, it's fun working with the melamine because it's somewhat waterproof, and you can sort of seal it, but it's heavy as shit, and if it has standing water on it, you're screwed. I guess you could say it's water resistant. At least the stuff I was using was fairly water resistant. I didn't have too many issues as long as I sealed all the corners and everything.
As I say, it is until you scratch it,
Oh
until you
yeah.
move it, and a tiny corner dents, and then everything gets in. And look at it this way: like, how many people have PVC cages that they've owned for 20 years? Like, some of my cages downstairs are 20 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and they look identical as the new ones I bought 2 years ago. Except I've modified the shit out of it. But melamine cages, I had them too in the past. Like, I've built them. I mean, every time you move them, you're screaming.
Oh
They're
God, yeah.
ridiculously heavy. Like, just hearing you talk about a cage that you had somebody walk into that's built of melamine, I'm guessing you've never moved that thing, right? Like, how do you
Oh
move that?
yeah, when it was time for that enclosure to go, it was just get all
Destroyed.
shop vac all the substrate out and take the screws out and start sawing it up into pieces and put it down by the road. That was it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to me, that's a problem, right? Like, we spend so much money. Like, I don't know if, like, when I used to have a partner, I kind of hide how much money I spend into this hobby, right? Because it's insane how much money we spend into caging, into everything like that. Like, it is truly not a cheap hobby to have.
No.
Um, and like, I don't want to build a cage only to have it for 4 years until I move and then need to throw it away, right? Like, my caging system, probably, like, I have, I don't know, 40 4x2s, like all those kind of things. And when you're looking at $300-400 a pop each and all that, like, it starts to be really a lot. You consider your thermostats, all that, but the advantage is your PVC will, frig man, it will last the life of your animal, right? So if you accumulate slowly, but to me, like, melamine, it's not going to last. Like, some people say they have 10-year-old melamine, but they probably have never moved. If they're using it maybe for a rack system, really the animal's not really living in there. I just find that it's just a matter of time till you scrape a urate on the ground, right? And you're using a razor blade to remove it. But if you remove that thin layer of that melamine, whatever that is, that protective coat, I don't know what it is, but that sheathing on top, you break that seal, man, that melamine's done after. I
Yeah.
just think it's a horrible, horrible, not substrate, but a horrible,
Media.
I don't know. Thank you.
Yeah.
To use for caging. Too heavy. Water will get into it eventually. It might take 5 years, but
Yeah.
it will get there.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
yeah, I remember having seeing like a little crack, and I just packed it with silicone, because I knew that because I guess I remember I guess my dad must have done some cabinet work or something at our house, and we had like scrap melamine when I was a kid, and I remember I made like a boat out of it and took it to the beach, and it was like, he told me like that thing is going to blow up, that particle board's going to absorb water. And I remember being in the salt water and like playing with it and being like, see, it's fine. And then by the end of the day, it was like a sponge, just saturated and, 4 times heavier than it was going in. Yeah. Small boat, like for GI Joes, not obviously I wasn't paddling around in a melamine boat as a child. That would be wild.
Yeah. Actually, I still
that's
got
funny.
some of my wooden enclosures that I built with my dad. But like, we used 5/8 plywood with the arborite countertop material lining the inside of it,
Mm.
which is a lot a lot more water resistant, I would say. Like, I wouldn't, like, I've kept cocoa on it and haven't, like, it didn't leak, or I don't think it's warped at all or anything. Like, the cages I've had now for 5 to 8 years, and they're still going strong. They made the move out here, no issues, kind of thing. But yeah, although I found it funny that Craig actually does the same method, except he doesn't put it on the sides. He just uses however many coats of polyurethane, which by the end of it, right, is pretty smooth. So you can clean the inside of it pretty easily as long as you put enough coats on. And it's because it's definitely cheaper than like the pond sealer kind of stuff that you can get. But yeah, no, it's kind of funny how some of the math, like without reading Craig's books beforehand, we had already figured out to kind of use that, and it's so far it's worked out. But yeah, no, I generally keep more drier, like the pine snakes and stuff on it instead of like the Bahama boas. I kind of try to keep those guys in the PVC cages because sometimes you gotta kind of wet down those West Indian boas when you want to breed them.
Oh yeah, yeah. That you don't want them being in something that could soak up moisture. I mean, but if you're sealing it, you should be good to go. I just sent you some pictures on our Instagram chat of the enclosure. I actually found them pretty easily, and yeah, they were big. Maybe I'm assuming it must have been. I would say, looking at it now, it was probably 6x3, but they were stacked one on top of another, and yeah, I don't know if you can share those or not, but they were quite large. It must.
Are these like some of the first cages you've ever had or ever built?
On my own, yeah, that was at our old house, and yeah, that was those. I mean, I built the one with my dad, and that must have given me the idea to give it a go with something bigger. I wonder what year that was. That was 2012 that I built those. A lot.
If ever I started searching, I probably could find it. But my first cages I ever built, and again, we're talking like I'm old, right? I've got like twice the amount of gray hair as both of you guys put together. Fuck, both you guys don't even have gray hair.
I have gray hair.
I
have gray hair.
Yeah.
I have two boys. I have gray hair. Trust me.
Oh, you're gonna go bald slowly too. You give it time, though.
Why do you think I wear a hat, bro?
So in the 90s, to give you an idea, so in the late 90s, my
damn, how old are you, bro?
22. I'm nice and young. I mean, my oldest son is 25, but I'm still 22, so I'm 45.
Okay.
So I feel old. Does that count?
Yes.
So I didn't build cages out of melamine. I would go to Home Depot or whatever. You guys have Home Depot in the States, right?
Oh, yeah.
Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever you want to use it. And I would actually buy simple 2x4 OSB boards. And I would buy a lot of like, you know how you can get like those 4-inch wide boards that are only about an inch thick? And I would build the box out of OSBs, and then I would use the 4-inch piece of wood to just make all pretty trims around in the front. And then I would put plexiglass inside like basically like picture frames, right? And I would make all these picture frames with plexiglass on it and put hinges, and those would be the doors, and the sides would all be the same and all that. And I would have all these freaking gigantic cage, and then all the inside I would either varathane the shit out of it to try to make the OSB and everything waterproof, and it would work. But again, the same problem. It would end up weighing like, I don't know, a cage would be 200-300 pounds, right? And I made all these like, so my entire room was like made of wood. Like all my cages were wood and plexiglass, and it was just, I don't know, like to me, it's like I enjoyed working with wood. I could make it, and I could make it for so much cheaper than anything I could buy. But back then, there was no such thing as like plastic cages or PVC, right? Or foam PVC, whatever you want to call it. So, damn, that is big, man. How tall is your wife?
She's like 5'2", 5'3". Yeah, she's short. I want to say, I mean, you can just by looking at it must have been 3 feet deep and 3 feet tall. And I'm assuming I probably did 6 or 7 feet wide. I'm assuming those figures would kind of make sense if it was overall 6.5 feet tall. Just kind of guesstimating.
And what lived in there?
I had a tegu and the Asian water monitor that perished, and a rhinoceros iguana as well, and I think I might have had tortoises in there for a little while. I can't remember. I was out of control, like when I was younger, it was just like, something would catch my attention and I'd research it, hyper focused for, 2 or 3 weeks. And next thing you know, I have it. And then, and then I was very chaotic, very, very limited, impulse control, and just, I think, kind of not being allowed to have anything but a lizard and a smaller lizard when I was a kid. It was like the Catholic schoolgirl, getting, I was on my own. It was like, I can do whatever I want now, and yeah, I just went crazy and just picked everything up I could. Is Dom muted?
Yeah.
Damn it. All right. You got to do it every show, right? So anyway, that was my mistake.
This is why I never mute myself.
I just find that when you don't mute yourself, when you're listening to the audio after, it's not as clean, right? So if we mute ourselves and the guest never mutes himself, the audio sounds good. So I don't know. I try to do it. So going back, like I'm listening to your stuff and like and take no offense, Mike, I find like Mike is in the stage of just buying whatever and anything, and he can keep anything, right? And Mike's collection is like Noah's Ark. It's kind of funny. I love it. But I was at that stage too when I was younger. And like, just to give you an idea, I would live like, once I moved out, I was in a tiny like 1-bedroom apartment. Under my bed, I removed my bed. I built a like 8x4 high by like 4 wide just to fit my single bed right on top of that. And under my bed was like this gigantic cage for 3 Savannah monitors that would live together. And beside was another like 8 foot by 4 feet by, I think, 4 feet deep cages. The bottom had a black throat monitor and the top was the same cage. And that one had a African rock python in it that was 12, 13 feet. And I was keeping all the freaking craziest shit for no reason other than I could, right? And I feel like it's a part of like, I'm going to call it reptile hood or whatever you want to call it, right? We've all gone through those, well, I'm going to keep it because I can and try it. And we've all tried all the different species and things like that. And as you get to a certain point, eventually, like after doing it 20 years, you realize like, oh, maybe monitors aren't exactly what I want to keep. I love them, but maybe they're too hot. They eat too much. They don't work perfectly with my lifestyle. And I find you might start with a really wide scope and slowly funnel down to certain things. And it took me a long time to figure out, but like, I can tell you, I fit into the mainly arboreal, semi-arboreal pythons. That's my thing. That's what I love. Right. But man, I have kept newts. I have kept monitors. I think I've had a tegu. I've had I don't think I've ever had tortoises or things like that. So I've never went down that route. I have had crocodilians. I have had like a lot of, and there's animals that I love. Like if you ask me which types, like I love crocodilians. I love monitors. If I didn't keep snakes, so there's the 2 fields that I freaking love. But is it right keeping a crocodilian in captivity? I don't think so. And it is now illegal in Ottawa. But before we could keep caimans, we no longer can keep caimans.
Dude, I'd give anything to keep an American alligator. And like,
is it legal?
No, I'm saying I'm that's why I wish I could, like if I had the property, I'd dig a big ass pond, and just have a big old American alligator in there. I think that they're probably the coolest reptile on earth. I like that they're not super crazy, like a crocodile is, like the large crocodiles that, actually prey on humans. They've been part of my life since I was a kid. I'm endlessly fascinated with them. I love seeing them. I never see an alligator and go, oh, it's just an alligator. I always see them and I just get so excited because of how cool they are and majestic and sort of cryptic and fearful and sort of, as long as they haven't been tainted by man and fed by people, they don't want anything to do with you, and it's, where I'm at, there's so many, Facebook, local groups that I'm in, and it's constantly these it's constantly these people that come from, out of state, and they just panic and freak out over everything: a bobcat, a corn snake, an alligator, right? And it's like, these things, you're the abnormal thing here. You are, these animals belong here. You're the freak. You don't belong here. All right. And you complain about the pythons and the iguanas and how you kill them all and how proud you are of yourself for that. But you don't sit there and think about your septic system, and you're draining all your human waste and your ground beef fat and all this other stuff into the earth. You don't think about any of that, or tapping the wells and sucking all the water out of the water table. You don't think about that. You don't think about all the invasive plants you have planted around this stone structure that doesn't belong on the landscape. None of that's all irrelevant. The fact that the Everglades is filled with, sugarcane, but the only thing that we can focus on is the iguanas and the pythons. Give me a break. It's an obsession with people, and it makes me sick to my stomach. Is it a problem? Yes, but it's not the problem. It's not the only problem that we have as humanity that's trying to survive in a world that we're destroying around us.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's the scapegoat kind of thing, right? Like, even living here now in southern Alberta, like, we got prairie rattlesnakes and goat and bull snakes that will come through actually most of the city and the town I live in too, because we got dens like right on the side of the city and the golf course. So the male prairie rattlers, and apparently they can move up to like 30 kilometers from their dens throughout the summer kind of thing, because the females will kind of stay around the dens because they'll eventually have their babies kind of around there.
And don't they raise their babies communally? I mean, these are right, incredible animals, dude. And you and I, we see the tragedy in a dead rattlesnake, that some dipshit decided that it was time to kill this snake because it's too dangerous to be left alive. And yet we sit there and we know that they're communally raising their young, that they have these incredible dens that they return to annually, that they conserve their venom. And how does that work? Is that cognition? Are they thinking? Are they conserving a resource? That when, that's why there's dry bites. That's why they try to flee. That's why they rattle their tails, is that they're trying to conserve that resource, and we've seen the studies where they'll try to flee before they bite. And they're so incredible. They can retain sperm for 7 years. Like literal, just incredible animals that are capable of such incredible things and so well adapted to survive. And yet we think that they're just too dangerous to be left alive and they need to get the shovel. And I think it's just a lack of education. Humans are stupid. There's no way around that. We just do stupid things, and there's no way to slow that down and stop it. And it's so depressing. And I hate golf, dude. You want to get me going? You said golf course. I hate golf. I despise it. I think that it's bad for your body because it's such an unbalanced movement, right? Like you're going to cause problems long term. But B, it just destroys the environment. You're just taking these vast swaths of land and just turning it into this monocrop for grass that doesn't belong, that you're going to dump gallons and gallons and gallons of fertilizer and pesticides into, and I'm sorry if you guys golf, and I'm sorry if anybody, golfs and they hear this and they're like, God, why does Adam have to be such an asshole? It's my hobby. Everybody needs a hobby. I get that. But also just sort of the class that it represents as well, like the people that anyway, don't get me started. I'm sorry.
So everybody, this rant has been brought by Cornell's World. Cornell's World is
Cornell's
Yeah,
World
Greg
and
doesn't
Golf
golf.
Club.
and and some kind of golf equipment. I don't even know it. So I'm not a golfer, so I know
This
anything, but if
episode
I'm
is
you,
brought
it's
to you by Ping.
uh, Adam, that was freaking great, man. Like I haven't laughed that much in a while. I totally I'm siding with you 100%, man. It's funny how like we think of ourselves as like the dominant species and the perfect species and all that, but when you think about it, we're basically a virus, man. We replicate, we eat all of resources, and then we spread. And then once we spread, we destroy everything, we kill nature,
Yep.
we pave over everything, we just keep spreading and killing the earth, right? Which is basically what we're doing everywhere. You look at a city, like some animals have adapted to live in the city, but most of it is just it's pretty terrible. So I appreciate your rant. It was beautiful. I enjoyed it, and I have very similar views. So I'm down with that. That was awesome. And usually it's me going on these rants. Like that was great.
Well, being in Florida, it's just happening all around me, and at this point, I'm completely exhausted by it. Because it started probably back in 2020. I think it started during COVID. There were people that wanted to get away from vaccines and being required to wear a mask, and they just wanted to tap into to the freedom of Florida and the sunshine, and so we had this enormous influx of people, and ever since then it's been traffic like crazy. It's not easy to get around anymore. Potholes in the roads and just destruction of habitat. I mean, we had pine barrens, like pine forest, just this beautiful, it was the most beautiful thing to drive by at like 9-10 a.m. in the morning, because the sun was just kind of diagonally coming through this pine forest, and all the the pine needles are sort of glossy, so they would catch that sunlight and just illuminate, and it would just and these are really tall pines, and then the palmettos down at the bottom, and you drive by this and it was absolutely awe-inspiring. It was completely beautiful. It must have been anywhere from I would say probably 10 to 30 acres, somewhere around there. And it was something that every time I would drive by it, you were just in awe by its beauty, or the way that here in Florida, you get these building storm clouds right on the horizon, and it would be this dark gray background, and the sun would still be shining behind you onto these vibrant green pine trees, and that contrast between the dark sky and these vibrant green pine trees was just absolutely incredible. And that is all gone now. All it is condos as far as you can see, with palm trees that aren't native here. They're from they're from deserts. They're from the Middle East, and these totally non-native palms that present really well, but it's just all gone. It's just gone. And at first it's shocking and it's devastating to see, and then you're just used to it. And yeah, it's really gut wrenching watching it, and then on top of it, they're putting up wood construction. So that these are going to be dilapidated and destroyed in no time at all, because it's Florida, man. It's hot and humid here, and they're constructing these condos out of wood. It's horrible. It's horrible watching it.
Yeah.
So the two things I was going to say as well, a lot of Canadians stopped going to Florida in the past few years. So you've probably dropped a lot of Canadians out of there, but that's political. So I'm not going to go too much into that, but I can tell you a lot of people don't go to Florida anymore.
That's why there's nobody driving in kilometers per hour in front of me anymore.
Nice. And the second thing I was going to say, whenever we go herping here, Like if I go herping in, I don't know, probably like an hour from here, there's a couple of pretty good spots. I'm guaranteed to find a northern water snakes, probably going to find a common garter snake. And if I'm lucky, sometimes once a season, I'll find one black rat snake. And that's basically my herping. What I find cool about Florida is and this is made up in my own head because I've never actually herped in Florida, but you can confirm it or deny it. I find it cool that you could go there and like find a chameleon. I could go herping and like I don't even know what I'm gonna find. Like I think that's okay. It's terrible, but it's kind of cool too. Like the idea that I could go herping and find a tegu in the wild or things like that. Like the amount of invasive species you have at this point, it's there's so much different things out there that I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. Is it bad? Horrible. Like horrible. But I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, have you ever found any?
It is what it is at this point. You know, it's to me, it's not good or bad. It is what it is. It's kind of like us being here. You know, it's not the problem. It's a problem. I think that seeing something that's invasive should not fill you with hatred and rage, especially towards the animal. I think that if you see an animal that doesn't belong on the landscape, you have to rationally think that, yes, it got here because of humans, not because of itself. It didn't say, I'm going to or invade the state of Florida and destroy the habitat and, eat this guy's hibiscus that he planted, and that's often, I remember hearing that from my grandmother back when she was still with us was, that, they're going in and they're trying to kill all the iguanas because they're eating everybody's hibiscus. And it's like, wait a minute. So the invasive animal is eating the invasive plant and they're burrowing into the man-made constructed seawalls because we cut canals in everywhere and then mound up tons of dirt and create a seawall in something that should be a salt marsh, and that's the villain here. We're going to demonize the iguana. Yeah, I think it is, I don't sit there and celebrate it and say, yes, but yeah, it's cool to see an agama. And, Dr. Tillis just put up on his stories yesterday that he found a lizard and he didn't know what it was. And, he ended up, it was a curly tail lizard, and that was way up north. That's probably 6 hours north of where you're going to find them, which is mostly in Miami and in the more southern part of the state. We don't even have curly tails where I'm at. We have agamas, we have spiny tails. Maybe you might run into a green iguana, probably not on this coast though. But yeah, going to Miami, it's wild, dude. It's wild driving, literally going to Costco and seeing curly tail lizards everywhere, which are adorable little lizards. And then driving down the road and seeing a green iguana basking on a tree limb, and you get out of your vehicle and he dives into a canal, goes fully submerged and swims away. Like it's cool. It's pretty wild to be able to see that. And then you turn around and there's some of the Peters Rock agamas, and yeah, I mean, we weren't able to find any Burmese pythons, unfortunately. But man, we saw, everything else that the state has to offer, but at the same time, all of our native wildlife is still here as well. Herping Florida is weird. If you don't have really good spots, you're probably going to strike out. You'll probably see a black racer if you're just on a trail, but beyond that, I randomly ran into a corn snake the other day, and it's, I always thank my lucky stars when that happens because it's mostly black racers that we see. That's mostly what I see where I'm at. At my work, we have a lot of Nerodia. I think it's Nerodia floridana is the green water snake, or the Florida green water snake. We have bandids as well. But yeah, we have probably mostly greens. The bandids it's cool to see them because it's just more color, more pattern, you know.
Oh yeah, those are all
What
nice.
was your question? I'm sorry, Dom.
I have no idea what my question was, but that was great. I feel like you answered it. It's all good, man. Those Nerodias, are they? So whenever, like when I go herping with my kids, that's all we do. We catch water snakes. They're the easiest ones. They're everywhere. They musk all over you all the time. Is it the same issue over there?
It depends. You know, it used to be. I used to be more yoink and just let them musk and bite me. And then watching Rob Christian interact with Nerodia in the wild, I've changed my approach, and I'm much more slow and gentle, you know, and I kind of joke around that I set my intentions and they understand that we're from the same Earth Mother Gaia. And, you know, I kind of joke around with that, but it actually works, you know, like Rob kind of changed my perspective on that I've had green water snakes where I've gone up to them and I've been able to just pick them up, you know, very, very slowly, sort of, you know, put my hand down. It's wild when it happens, you know, where you're sitting there holding a green water snake, a Nerodia, and it's totally chill and just tongue flicking and kind of curled up in my hand. I have pictures of it. I think I have video. Now, on the other hand, I have video of a green water snake hooded up like a damn cobra, trying to kill me. I mean, like he was like coming at me and he's like, I'm either going to go through you or you're going to get the hell out of my way. You know, I mean, like it was the most wild experience I've ever had. It shocked me when I saw it. I was walking around our pond at work, and all of a sudden I see something out of the corner of my eye, and it's a hooded up, standing up Nerodia, like coming directly at me. Like he must have knew he needed to get to the water, and that was the fastest way, was directly through me. So he just tried to look as big as possible, and yeah, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, is this what people mistook for cottonmouths chasing them? You know, because a cottonmouth will hunker down and sit in place and just do its threat display and be like, look at my big mouth, you know, I'm scary, you know, whereas that water snake legitimately was I mean, I think he wanted to get to the water, but it gave me the vibe that he was chasing after me. It was pretty wild.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I definitely see how that works out. Like I know here, what is it? Like, I know earlier how you mentioned the prairies, and they like do the mothering thing with their babies. Well,
Yeah.
when you herp for prairies, they always seem to be like, especially like when they're around the dens, they'll be like right above the hole. And if you don't see them, they just like jump in the hole, like they're gone, kind of thing. But they're also one that's a little more kind of defensive, right? Like if I'm sure if you were between them and the hole, they definitely kind of opposite of the Norpax, where the Norpax that I'm used to finding in the Okanagan, probably closer to your in-laws kind of place, where they're a bit more chill kind of thing. You can kind of get closer to them, and they don't really make as much noise. Yeah, I was
there
somewhere with that.
there was a spot in Washington where we were at. It's in the Kettle Falls area. There was a spot that was supposed to have rattles. I wish I could remember the name of it. It was like rattlesnake was in the name of the place, I believe. And we went there, and I didn't see any. And I remember we told somebody we went there, and they're like, "Oh, did you see some rattlesnakes?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Boy, what were you doing wrong? Like that place is crawling with rattlesnakes." And it's so cool when you go into an area like that and you're like, it's just so different from all the surrounding area. Like it's sort of a dry, arid area with very low humidity. And then you go to this one place and it's humid, and it feels like it's almost like it's inside of its own little biotope, you know, and when I say little, it's not really that little. There's mountains all around it, and it must be just a low-lying area where all the water collects, and there's just moss everywhere. And so cool though that 20 minutes away it's 12% humidity and super dry, more prairie land.
Oh yeah, no, That's probably my favorite place to go. Is like probably just north of there in the Okanagan, kind of around just above the border around Oliver. There's some really neat spots, kind of thing where like you go road cruising at night, and you can at the dusk time. I find is the best time for like Norpax kind of thing,
Mm.
and depending on the time of year, like if you go like now, you'd see a lot of last year's babies kind of coming out on the road, whether they're gophers, racers, baby Norpax kind of thing. And then you get into summer, and it's mostly just adult Norpax kind of on the edge of the road right at dusk. And then what is it? Late at night, you'll get the rubber boas, especially if you go in the mountains. Like
Mm.
you take the Forest Service roads kind of thing, and like you just go cruise those till 3 a.m. and you'll get a handful of rubber boas for sure, almost. But like you say, that humidity, I find rubber boas. If there's like a stream that goes kind of beside the road,
Oh, really? They gravitate
they go
towards that.
to and from the stream at night. Honestly, like they go
Interesting.
get their fresh drink of water and then they go away. Because honestly, even in the basins where we found them, they're always like you can see like a river, even if it's like a few hundred meters away, kind of thing. Like it's kind of like it always seems like they're going to and from water or something,
Mm.
which is kind of neat, even in the drier areas. So yeah, no, there's where you are is where you would go to when you visit them. Like I would definitely kind of try that kind of if you put the kids to bed kind of thing. Maybe go try for rubber boas late at night. I've actually never
Yeah.
found rubber boas. Oh, well, I didn't flip it, but we had the best night ever where we'd found like five or six already kind of thing, and then go park the truck at a campsite around a pond kind of thing up there, and then go. I was like, oh well, we've had such a good night already. I'll go walk around for 5 minutes with a flashlight, and then take
Mm.
3 steps, and oh look, there's a rubber boa on the ground
Really?
at 3
Oh,
a.m.
that's so
That was
cool.
pretty cool. Yeah, no, they're my
That's so
favorite snake
cool.
to find for sure. But the Norpacks are beautiful too, right? They have that nice greenish tinge to them compared to
Yeah.
other rattlesnakes. Sometimes
Ne-
even a little
ne-
bit of pink.
next time I'm out that way, we'll have to meet up at the border and do some illegal crossings or something. That would be fun. I'm
Oh,
kidding.
you can
It's a
easily
joke.
cross. They'll let you by. It's fine. There's a yeah,
Wow.
because there's a main crossing in the cities, and then there's actually one out by there's like the weird one on Nighthawk that I don't even know why they have it. Well, they have another crossing like kind of there's a mountain in between it that's actually known for hiking and stuff too with a couple ponds. But yeah,
Mm.
I think the holy grail out there though would be the Hypsiglina, the night snakes. Like they're easier to find down in Washington, kind of thing. But in Canada, there's only been 40 sightings since the 80s
Oh
when they were
wow.
discovered. But yeah, no, those are cool. Still need to find a western skink. But now that I'm in Alberta, I have some other targets I need to hit, like western hognose and greater shorthorned lizards. You guys have the pygmies down there, which should be cool to see. But yeah,
My son wants a hognose. He did a paper or presentation on it and for his last year of elementary school. He's 10, and I think he did a PowerPoint presentation on hognose snakes, which I thought was really cool that he did that. I wish I could have helped him with it, and I haven't even seen it yet. But he told me all about it. And so yeah, I have a feeling that we're going to end up with a hognose snake in our collection at some point.
oh yeah, they're fun. They're cool.
How do you feel about hognose? Like for me, I kind of see them almost like ball pythons now, like the common species that everybody has. But like, is that something you want, or you're just going to do it for him?
It's something he wants. He keeps telling me how cool they are and how much he wants one. So at some point, I have a feeling that we'll probably have one. I would want to, obviously, I'm going to do my part and do research and find out who breeds them and. Are there localities with hognose? I mean, I really don't want to get into any kind
I
of a
think there
morph.
are.
Oh, there are? Okay. Well,
I
that's cool. I
believe
like
so.
localities,
Actually, a guy near you, Rob Nimmo, has I think he does Mexican hognose, which would be cool. A little
Mm,
different kind of thing. I think their locality because I think they were collected out in West Texas. I think Chris Painchap has some also like Boy Scout Road uh, hognose, which would be neat. So
okay.
then you can do that. But like even like the sable hognose, which was collected down in Montana, like there's a few ones that were like I think the Lucy was from Colorado, and then it
Mm,
somehow made its way back, even though it was like illegally collected in the beginning. And now, actually, I think Colorado, you're allowed to keep hognose now. You just have to fill out a permit. But yeah,
Interesting. So they and see, now I'm even getting interested in hognose because they must be able to survive some really uh, harsh conditions. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
Colorado gets very, very hot and dry. It also gets, so cold during the winter. So that's pretty cool that they can fill that ecological niche. And I mean, that's like I don't know what it is, but it's like a really hardy animal that can survive a wide range of climate conditions. It that's what gets me going, like that's part of the secret sauce, for me, is like the Argentine boas and what they can survive, and diamond pythons and what they can survive. It's that makes an animal that much cooler when they're really hardy and able to overcome those conditions.
And you should get a Canadian locality Western hognose then.
That would be
I'm
pretty
not.
neat.
I wonder if they're out there. You never know. I would ask. I think that like Craig Trumbauer group kind of thing would be or I don't know, maybe Jeff Galewood would know too from JMG. But yeah, no,
Mm.
that'd be cool. I know there's there's some bull snake localities from Canada. Not sure how legal their origins were, or if they've just been around for 50 years in the hobby. Maybe one or the other kind of thing. But yeah, no, you never know. At the very least, there definitely are some West Texas ones out there. So
Yeah, I'll have to look around. It would be cool if I could get something that maybe would live in sort of the same area as my Texas Indigos or something. That might be kind of cool.
oh yeah, yeah. No, how are those going for you? I know I love my pine snakes, and obviously indigos are a little different than pine snakes. My I don't have to worry about mine eating each other. But how are those? How are you enjoying them?
I think from a pooping perspective, they're very similar, right?
Yeah,
I love them. Honestly, I would have been on here 10 minutes earlier if I didn't walk by and smell a bowel movement from my male, and then I was like once that happens, I'm like, I can't leave him in there. I can't leave him in those conditions, So I real quick pulled him out, changed the paper towels, and I have four tubs in their quarantine rack, but I mean they're at 6 months of quarantine, so at this point they're pretty good.
Are
They
these Eastern indigos?
they are Texas Indigos. Yep, yeah, they're Texas Indigos because I'm in Florida and I just didn't want to deal with the interstate travel permit for Easterns, and potentially having some legal thing come up down the road for Eastern Indigos because I'm in a state where they actually are. Like I just wanted to
yeah.
avoid that.
It's like
I know
that
it.
added protection kind of thing where I'd be nervous about keeping something that's native that's also endangered at the same time. I feel like somebody might interpret something wrong there.
Yeah, and there's always room for things to change down the road, and I know that it's a layer of protection between any legal issue and me keeping my animals by going with a Texas, but I love them. They're so cool. They're so inquisitive and just different from everything that I keep, and I'm really excited to get them moved into their 5x2 enclosures. And I have a bunch of willow that I harvested, and it's beautiful. Like, you could make walking sticks out of this. It's very light. It has a nice texture to the bark, and I harvested a bunch of that willow at work. And we at work we have these I think they're like Eastern coastal willows. I don't know, I probably just butchered that, but they came out of nowhere and they just shot straight up, and they're these huge, really high. They look like essentially like a 20-foot tall bush. It's like the leaves go from the ground all the way up. And so I got a bunch of branches from those, and I need to put those inside. I was just talking to Dr. Tillis about these. He uses the grow tents outside in the sun with the clear part facing up, and it just bakes in there. It goes well over 200 degrees if you put that out in the sun on a summer day, obviously, barring Canadian, I don't know what you guys got going on, but
I'm in the sunniest place in Canada, so I have no end of sun and heat in the summer, so that would definitely
yeah,
work well.
there you go. Yeah, because I've been sitting there struggling, like, how am I going to get these giant branches? How am I going to kill everything off? Because we have a lot of wood destroying insects here.
Oh
So
yeah. Well, even those because back in Vancouver, I would literally like we'd have some trees that we'd trim kind of yearly, right? Or I did used to work at a driving range at a golf course that really didn't spray too much, so I kind of knew I could use that. Actually, that was fun because
I
like
gotta go,
living in
guys. This has
Vancouver.
been fun. No.
Well, I only worked there when I was just at the end of high school, kind of thing. But it was in the summer. It was great because I would be the one cutting the greens and stuff, or cutting the grass, or weed whacking. You just come around the corner and there's garter snakes out sunning on the green. Like we had garter snakes all over, right? Because we had a bunch of water around, and then frogs were everywhere. Although there was a lot of bullfrogs, you could hear those guys going off in the summer. But like I even found some like big like long toe salamanders and northwestern salamanders, and in the spring because down where that golf course was, it was kind of on the flats kind of thing in like kind of the Fraser Valley kind of. So you got those dikes are perfect for garters because they just spend the winter in the dikes because they're built up kind of thing. So in you go February when it starts warming up again, you can go look for garter snakes and stuff. But in the summer, they obviously it's kind of spread out, and you got 3 species of garters, so you're always finding different ones. And then yeah, it was cool even seeing salamanders and the Pacific chorus frogs in that's what I was getting at. In April, it's just all you hear at night. As soon as the sun kind of gets low, it's like loud. Just and but like they're only like that big, so it's really hard to locate them when you hear them call. But yeah, no, it was kind of fun working with that. But yeah, no, I would get wood and I would just let it kind of like put it in my dad's shop and just kind of let it dry out for a year, and then I would use it kind of thing. But
yeah,
you still get the odd like orange wood mite things that you're like, well, this isn't gonna harm anything, but it's just annoying that they're kind of around, right?
Yeah, I thought that was really intuitive. What Dr. Tillis was doing with those grow tents and just kind of putting it out in the sun, and then it essentially becomes sort of a low temperature oven where you can let it cook for a week or 3 days or something, and you're going to be good. Then everything's killed off. I think Owen McIntyre does something similar with really large black trash bags, but these sticks are probably about 5 to 6 feet long, so most of them are going to be even too big for that. I'd have to find like something excessively large, and but yeah, I'll get it done. And once I get that done and I get those baked, I can get those in the cages and make some humid hides. I'll probably just use sort of storage containers. And my buddy Phil from Wellington Exotics has assured me that
he's in the chat.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy. He's one of my favorite human beings. But he's assured me that if I create humid hides, that they'll eventually start using those almost like litter boxes, where most of the time they'll do their business inside of those. So that would be cool. Just because the indigos can be a bit messy. I think that's my biggest fear right now is moving them from the tubs into the cages, as I know that maintenance is going to be more labor intensive and probably less thorough. Right now I just have 4 bins, and so there's 2 clean and there's 2 that they're living in, and as soon as they go to the bathroom I just swap the tubs and it's nice and easy. But they're indigos, so they're growing out of those tubs pretty quickly.
Yeah. I don't know. You might be fine. Like with my pine snakes, like I just like obviously they'll have a big poop every like week or 2 kind of thing, but you just spot clean that, and like you walk in the room and you're like, okay, so which one of you did this?
See, and I feel bad because their
as soon
cages
as you clean that out, it's fine kind of thing. Like it's not that much more work. Like no matter if it's a pine snake or or an Angolan python or the Bahama boas, I kind of just spot clean as I go,
Yeah.
and it's not really that bad kind of thing. I didn't find it too bad. Actually, I love I'm not, maybe indigos are different, but with all my stuff, like even the Transpecos, I keep a humid hide in with them just in case. But they all seem to kind of poop randomly. I would honestly check sometimes they poop inside of a hide, but they never seem to actually poop inside of the humid hides I give them. They'll usually like pick they'll do it out when they're kind of like cruising around. But maybe the indigos will be different. That would be kind of neat if they're kind of potty trained. Although some do poop in water bowls, but I find that's more in the tubs that they'll poop in the water bowls. Generally, when they're just in their cage, they kind of randomly choose a corner, maybe poop underneath the hide if they're a more nervous animal. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out for you. I'm sure you'll let us know over time.
Yeah, I'm excited to get them in their cages. Their cages are in the living room, unfortunately, and their cages have computer fans on them. So when they go to the bathroom, I'm sure I'm gonna get some complaints lodged from the rest of the family, But it is what it is, Where I said to my wife, I'm like, hey, we're a reptile family, and I apologize that there's cages everywhere. It is, and I try to tell myself too that it's temporary, because ideally long term I would like to have a snake building on site where all the cages are in there, all my recording equipment's in there, everything, it would be sort of a fortress of solitude where I could get over there and have everything over there. I think I would probably keep a couple snakes still in the house, though. Maybe a couple. That, or incubators and babies would be in here. I don't know how I would set that up yet. Or quarantine, one way or another. Quarantine is so important. And I mean, like I said, my indigos have been going through quarantine for 6 months now, and they've been tested for crypto through University of Florida, and everything was negative. And so I'm pretty comfortable and confident to move them into the general population now.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I think you'll enjoy them, kind of thing. They're I haven't actually kept indigos, but I don't know. I find colubrids fun, but I love all snakes, kind of thing, right? Like I finally got Morelia, even though I've been listening to Eric and Owen since I was in grade 12. So now I'm 24. So
Nice.
intaking Morelia information for years, and finally actually decided to do it.
Hell yeah. Do you guys ever come to American reptile shows?
I haven't, but my buddies,
Yeah.
well, I think Greg and Ty want to go back down to Pomona in January. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do that. I really want to go to Daytona, and I really wanted to go to IHS this year, but I kind of bought a house, so I should be financially responsible.
You kind of bought a house, or you did buy a house?
I did buy a house. That would be what I'm in right now.
Nice.
I'm not quite sure if it's mine, but I live in it.
Yeah,
I'd love to
the
go
bank
to some of
owns
the
mine.
reptile. Yeah, well, they own the majority of the part of the house.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to the big reptile shows because I've always been curious to compare how big they really are compared to our shows, right? Like there's a big Western show that Mike always talks about for our sponsors, and then we've got another big show on the eastern side of the Toronto Reptile Show, the Breeders' Show, which is pretty damn big too. And I've always wondered to compare it to like when you guys call your super shows or the Tinleys and all that. I would love to, and I feel like Tinley's not even that far from us. Like I think it's like a 9-hour drive, maybe a little bit more now.
Yeah, like a couple Canadians go down to that show for sure.
Yeah, and I mean Tinley's one of the biggest ones, right? Is that, am I wrong to think
Pomona's
that?
the biggest for sure, and then Tinley's up there, kind of thing. Daytona's good. I just love Daytona because you got like the OG guys there. Like I know like they go to Pomona too. You got the West Coast kind of Applegates, and the other guys come out to the West Coast shows, but I don't know. There's just something about Daytona and having like that, like, I bought stuff from Rob Nimmo in the past, kind of at Daytona, even though I wasn't there, right? And then obviously Trumbauer, and then we got Schmitty and Phil Wolf and Jason Hood and Billy and all those guys. Probably Phil will go down
dude,
there
it's
too.
it's gonna be crazy this year. The amount of people I've talked to where I'm like, "Are you going to Daytona?" and they say yes. Like I can't. I know. It's gonna be epic. It really is. I'm so looking forward to Daytona this year. You guys should come. It's gonna be epic. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be so cool to be able to see everybody. I think this year I'm gonna actually get a hotel and stay out there and just do the whole weekend and just enjoy it. I think Keith might even set up a table this year, allegedly, possibly. Keith McPeak, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I got to give hugs to Rob last year and Kush, and yeah, I think that there was quite a few people that didn't go last year, and this year quite a few of those people are going to be going, I think. So it's going to be a fun one this year. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. No, it looks like it's going to be good. I think it's almost always good now. It seems like that post COVID, like, I'm not sure if it was all because of Justin and Phil Wolf and the Herpetoculture Network guys, but it just feels like maybe they just kind of helped shape it, and then other people kind of, for their own reasons, decided to start going back there, and it all, like, that and the Super Show and Tinley seem to be those shows where people like go to hang out, not just kind of vend, right?
Yeah, I know. So I actually ran into a Canadian, and I can't remember where the other gentleman was from, but they were from Canada, and I want to say New York, and they drove, I think, down to Daytona, and it was funny because I was sitting there and my son was eating like chicken tenders or something. They were like, whatever, $29 for two of them. And we're sitting there and he's munching on those. I don't require food. I went without eating, and I just, me being me and, kind of being, sort of outgoing and talkative. I just started talking to the guy and he, recognized me, which was weird. Where he's like, "Don't you have a podcast?" And I wish I could remember the guy's name. I really do. He was a ball python breeder. But yeah, like
Was it
it's
Billy or no?
Dude, we're never gonna guess. There's so many. Yeah, trust me. I feel bad. I can't remember his name, but it was, it's just such a cool thing. It's like it really gives you like a sense of community, when all these people are coming from all around the country and other countries, right, all around the continent, to come together over reptiles. And yeah, it's wild.
Oh yeah, because I know Dom, because I think NBK goes down there, Brian Papuchian, and then, well, I guess
there's a few people that do.
Yeah, because he like half his kind of business is like colubrids, so non-CITES stuff is fairly easy. I think the only thing they have to do, that I've heard from kind of buddies that vend Tinley and that, is that they have to either buy bonds or something in the amount of animals that they're bringing down. So they have to like buy that in the amount of animal like product that and then they just get it back when they go back across the border. But that's also why they almost they trade and buy as much as they can down there and basically come back with the same amount, just of different stuff that just to make it kind of worth it, and they don't have to get screwed on taxes and import and kind of duty fees and whatnot. But yeah,
dude, those fees are out of control, man. I tried buying some stuff from Canada and I saw the cart, like the final total, and I gave up. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, like, because before, like pre this whole last couple of years, I think Canada, like when we buy stuff from you guys and it's over like $100 or $200 kind of thing, it's like we just pay like 5%, kind of like, which is our government sales tax on whatever we buy from you guys, which, I don't know, not really a big deal kind of thing. But so, yeah, now with
All
everything
I'm going to
else.
say, there is a certain president that decided to add tariffs to everything and has literally just fucked everybody over. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to name any specific orange person, but somebody somewhere did it, and yeah, kind of ruined that whole thing. But you're talking about the show, right? I'd love to go to the big shows, but something as simple as like I've always wanted to go to like the original Carpet Fest, you know, like just meet so many of those people. Like to me, that's and like I'm pretty sure they're like an 8 or 9 hour drive. Like it is totally doable. And for some reason, I'm just, I don't know, never happened, right? You've got kids, you've
The
got
last few
life, you've
years,
got.
it's been kind of like they had one or two, right? So it's not like not as consistent as they used to, or else I'm sure you probably would have gone the last couple of years, right?
Um, I'm considering doing it soon enough. I don't know. I've just like I want to go to the Western show in Canada too, and all these type of things. And at some point, I'll get to it. If it's cool, I want to kind of switch subject just because we're kind of closing in on the 2 hours, and I know we're not going to go on forever. I'm sure Adam has a life and kids that he wants to go back to. So, Adam, the one thing I find really really cool about you is that I feel like when we started listening to you, you sounded more like just a keeper to start with. Like I am I right to say that I don't think you've bred anything yet?
Yes. Yeah. I have not bred
Okay.
anything yet.
So I find that really cool and really refreshing because most of the people that start podcasts, you know, like I started a podcast and I've been breeding for 20 plus years, you know, and et cetera, et cetera. Most people are like that. You started from a very different point of view. And I feel like that's probably one of the aspects that I find really cool because we're kind of watching the evolution of Adam. You know what I mean? Like it's like we're listening to you raise your animals, get your animals, kind of like funnel into what you like and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure in the next like 2-3 years, you're probably going to be talking about like, well, I finally bred my, you know, my Argentines. I finally done this. I finally did that. And it's like we're kind of like I don't want to say well to many people. A lot of people are going to be learning through you as well, right? And a lot of people are just going to be like watch your evolution. And my curiosity here is like, where do you see yourself going, like with the podcast, with your animals, and all that kind of stuff? Because I'm enjoying the ride, right? And I'm kind of curious to see where do you see yourself in a couple of years? Where do you see this going?
Hopefully, well, thank you for that. And hopefully just somewhere better. I mean, I don't really have sort of a goal or a destination. I'm just trying to always push forward and always try to do better and be better and keep better and learn more. And you know, I think one of the most interesting things about the hobby is how everybody does it differently depending on where they are or who they are, and it doesn't impact how successful a keeper or a breeder can be. They can do things radically different from one another and still be successful and have healthy animals and have a good reputation in the hobby. And I kind of I think I learned that with, you know, with my trade and my job. You know, somebody gave me some wisdom once, and they said, you're going to hear 10 different ways to do everything here, and you're going to take all that information in and then figure out the best way to do it for yourself, you know, consistently and, you know, doing it one of the right ways, but there is no the right way, you know? So that's kind of what I'm always trying to do, is just figure out how is everybody doing this. And, you know, even though I might never do something that somebody tells me, it's still something that I can file away. And, you know, sometimes you run into a problem or an issue, and all of a sudden that information is now pertinent and you can utilize it, you know? So yeah, I mean, I want to breed my snakes, and I don't know if I want to. I mean, there's certain aspects of my collection that I do want to grow. I would like to get more diamond pythons as time goes on. I really love diamonds, and I love keeping them outdoors more than I ever thought I would or could. It's extraordinarily fulfilling, and it's incredible, and it's beautiful, and it's terrifying. And so I, there's certain things that I can see where I kind of want to end up, or that I want to improve on. I want to be a better host. I want to be more engaging and more entertaining. There's certain things that I want to improve on, but I definitely don't have a destination. I think my destination when I started was starting, so that was starting and having goals, like never missing, always posting, always putting new content out, trying to get new information out. And honestly, the biggest reward that I never anticipated or thought or anything like that has been people randomly hitting me up and telling me that they're a fan of the podcast and they've learned so much and they appreciate what I'm doing. And like that's incredible to me. That's crazy. That makes me feel like one day I'll be able to die and feel like I did something positive, like that's, and I'm not going to lie. Like before I started the podcast, that was something I was kind of grappling with, was like, God, I'm going to die one day. And will I have ever done anything good and meaningful, that ever would have meant anything to anybody, like that. You start getting, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but being in, getting into my mid 30s, you start thinking that, where it's like, man, this is going really fast. And will I ever do anything? I'd really love to focus more on conservation and try to do more for conservation and try to do things for conservation that would make me happy, So all that to say, I hope that where I am a couple years from now, it'll be a better place than where I am right now, that I'll just find ways to improve and do better and be better.
Yeah, no, for sure. Although I think you're doing a pretty good job of keeping that. I don't know. The way you interview people is like more of a. I just like how it's like almost like like it's an interview, but it's also a conversation kind of thing. And you're already really good at being pretty professional kind of thing. And I know I definitely have a lot to get more confident in myself as I speak, and kind of doing the podcast was kind of the same thing that you're talking about, right? Where you're just like, well, like I want to do something. Like I've always like, it's like, well, do I maybe try doing a magazine, even though I'm not good with really technology that much, or do I like I definitely wanted to start a podcast for like a couple years there, and then now that some of the other ones have kind of slowed down a bit, that it was like, well, like I know as somebody who intakes a lot of podcasts, it was like I need to find more podcasts to listen to while I work, kind of thing. So it was like, well, maybe other people are in the same boat, so maybe I finally should do it. And well, I asked Dom, and he was on board.
Hell yeah!
But yeah, no, it's yeah, you're doing a good job, man, and I think you'll be able to do it as long as you kind of want to do it, right? And then I think it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, and you got the recipe. Like you're steady, you're always on, and that's the number one rule of podcasts, right? Just keep going, be regularly on, and just don't stop. And as long as you can do that, as long as if you last a couple of months, then your next goal is a year, then your next year, then just keep increasing that. And I mean, I'm assuming here, I actually don't know, but I'm assuming you're starting to have a pretty good broad base, a good amount of listenership. Is that a word? Makes sense in my head. Anyway.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's pretty cool. Like I love the idea that at least now we're doing a podcast and it's not costing us money to host your own podcast. Just that. Are we profiting it from it? No, not at all. We're just doing it for fun, right? And we're enjoying it. And I mean, I don't know if we're well spoken or anything like that, but I bet you if you listen to show number 1 or 2, it's probably freaking rough. Our audio was terrible.
Oh God.
And there's been improvement, right? Which is the same thing. There's been learning curve. But as I said at the start of the show, you are in the top probably 2 or 3 shows. Like, I'm sorry, nothing's gonna ever pass NPR for me, just because it's the original and I freaking love them.
Of course.
And at this point, I don't even give a shit if they have guests. I just like listening to their rants and them just bitch at each other. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it's just great, right? Like, I love their show, and yours have become one of my favorites too. So I'm gonna throw you flowers and tell you good job, and don't stop, because I enjoy it.
Thank you. Same goes
man.
for you guys. You guys are
Thanks,
doing
man.
a great job, and I really appreciate your show and the chemistry that you guys share.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. It's all Michael, though. It's Michael and the hair.
It's the hair. Like it's just the hair at this point.
We're now 3 hosts. It's Michael, me, and the hair.
The hair holds the microphones in place, or the headphones rather.
He actually had to get an extender because it wouldn't fit, right? So there's an extra 6 inches on each side, so it can actually go around. It's pretty cool. So, Mike, is there anything else you wanted to hit up with Adam, or a last subject you wanted to chat about? Or Adam, is there anything you wanted to talk about before we slowly get to the end of the show?
Mike, are your black milks locality, or are they just black milks?
Well,
because I've heard you talk about them on some previous episodes, and I'm like, oh man, I'm curious about those.
I think from what I've heard, they were San Antonio, but then also knowing who I got them from, and my buddy who originally got the original animals didn't really know. Like, they're probably just San Antonios, but in the end, it's probably safer just to call them black milks. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, no, they're cool, and I love them. They're the best pet snake. I remember vending shows and stuff, and when we have them on the table, because my buddy has a few pairs. This year he's actually just given his breeders the year off, but they're the best. Like a jet black snake. Well, you get to keep started off as a milk snake, and then it turns jet black in 2 years and gets 5 to 6 feet long and eats every single time unless it's gravid, and then you can keep it ambient. Like, even in Florida, if you're, I don't know, as long as your room's between 73 and 80, I'll just keep it ambient. I don't even keep mine in my snake room. They honestly seem, if you give them heat, they seem to want to go to the side that's in the low mid 70s compared to the high 70s to 80s kind of thing. They don't bite. Their poop smell like they definitely probably have more of like indigo poop, where it's like a lot of little poops kind of throughout time, and it kind of does smell for even being little poops, but other than that, they're pretty good. And honestly, I don't know, they're worth it. They're my favorite. They're one of my favorite snakes. I've had my male for 8 years now, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was able to get him because I worked at the pet store, and he had been there for almost a year because one of the guys I worked with there bought it and then got 2, and then he's a guy that kind of flips through animals a little bit, so he brought it to trade in for something, and then so I got it for employee discount, so I got it for like $300, and
oh hell yeah,
pretty. I don't know, he's cool. I raised him up since he was a yearling to now, and now he's a good size and eats every time, and I don't know, he's just awesome.
Nice. Well, I hope you guys come to Daytona one year. It would be great to hang out, and yeah, that would be super cool.
Oh yeah, no, I'd be up for that at some point. For sure.
Yeah, I'd be up for sure. As to whether it'll happen, I mean, who knows? But I'd love to, and that'd be freaking cool. And I mean, as my kids get older, I get more and more liberty, and pretty sure at some point I'll do that. And Mike has no kids, so his liberty is just out there. He can do whatever he wants. So life is beautiful, right? So.
But will it stay that way?
I don't know, Mike. You got a girlfriend and kids on the way yet, or
not yet?
Not yet. Well, at least he doesn't know he has kids yet. Like every Mother's Day, Father's Day, he hides and hopes nobody knocks on the door. Right?
That's what I do, and I know where my kids are at.
Nice. I was going to say just a quick comment about colubrids, man. I don't know how people have all these colubrids, because all I got to say is, like, I think. I'm going to put it out there. I think I'm a lazy keeper. Like I keep pythons that I can feed only when I want, and I can, I don't feel like feeding for 3 weeks because I'm busy. I just don't.
Mhm.
Like I feel like I have the perfect animals for my type of lifestyle. If I'm busy and I can't get home and I can't do this, I can't do that, they just wait. And like this morning, I fed everything because I'm like, holy fuck, man, I think it's been like over 3 or 4 weeks since I fed everything. I'm like, holy crap, I'm a terrible keeper. I got to go feed everything. And like, I was just talking about this with Mike before, and I'm like, I think I'm more one of those that just I feed heavy. When I feed heavy because I'm like, I don't know the next time I'm going to have time to feed it. And I'm saying time, like realistically, like I could feed every day if I wanted to. I can find time, but I prefer cleaning my animals. I prefer looking at them. I prefer all that. And I don't know, to me, colubrids, like if I had an animal like an indigo that I need to feed every couple of days, or especially like babies, like to me, like that's so time consuming. Like it's,
I did. So I was feeding my indigos twice a week. And then I went to every 5 days, and then I had a regurg issue, and I think I stayed on that every 5 days, and then I was like, screw it. You know what? Once a week fits better with my schedule, because no matter what, I'm feeding every Sunday night, no matter what, right? And I pushed them out to that, and I perceive no difference. They're quite thick, they're pretty darn fat and happy. So, I don't know, like that was one of my big concerns too, was like, man, I work a lot of hours, and I kind of work strange hours, and, you need to be able to thaw animals out, and how am I going to do this? And, all that. And I've switched it, and I perceive zero difference at all. They don't behave differently. And yeah, I think every 7 days is pretty moderate, and they're healthy snakes. They're doing great. So I don't know. I wonder how much of that is just, for some people it works, and I think I might've talked to Kush about that too. And, he was like, yeah, you can feed them once a week, and they're going to grow anyway, all the same, so I don't know, like stuff like that. I often sweat the small stuff prior to having the animals, and then once I get them, I'm like, oh, these are snakes, it's not that bad. But I do see what you're saying of like the quantity of colubrids, like people that have, like I have a pair of indigos, and I don't think I'll ever have any more colubrids, with the exception of like a hognose that my son will be taking care of. Right. And so, but I couldn't imagine like getting any more, especially like big colubrids. But I was down to, it was either going to be black milks or indigos. And I really, really wanted dry marcon. And so it was, I remember talking about that, with friends on my Discord, and they were, everybody was like, just get what you want. If I wanted black milks honestly just as much, and I started geeking out over the whole locality thing and everything. But ultimately it was like, if I want the indigos more, and I really only have capacity to get one or the other, I'm going to go with the indigos. And I'm happy I did. If I had gone with the black milks, I'd probably be just as happy with them as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think
I love the size of the indigos. Like it's just for colubrids. Sorry, Mike, man, I didn't mean to cut you off. Like the size of them, it's just so freaking cool. And I love their feeding habits, right? Like they're more of an overpower snake, right? They simply just grab and eat. And like,
yeah,
a mouse is gone in what, like 8 seconds sometimes. Like it's just insane. I like seeing that type of feeding. So the only 2 colubrids that I've ever truly kept, actually one, were bull snakes, and I had a pair, and they're freaking cool, man. I loved bull snakes. I loved their attitude. I loved the tail rattling. I love everything about them. But man, like the best way I can describe when they go to the washroom, it's like a bird. Like it's just like that. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Like if you're visually looking at it, it's like a cone, like a triangular cone of explosion from the rear end. Like to me, like it's just, oh man, that sucked.
The cone of destruction.
Yeah. The cone of destruction. You know what? That's going to be the. We should call that today's show the cone of destruction.
And I will say I did give my indigos belly heat as well after the regurg issue. Kevin Butts, who bred my my black phase Texas Indigo, who is just a great human being, an inspiring human being for, really sets the standard for, in my opinion, what a snake breeder should be. But it's almost an unattainable level of sort of attention that he gives to his customers, like with checking in and everything. Really great guy. But I had that regurg happen and I was keeping ambient, and then I provided I think an 80-degree hotspot, which inside the tub, it's actually like 78, 79. And ever since then, that kind of firmed up their stools, and it changed sort of the consistency, the smell. It changed basically everything. Like they went from having really runny, gray, foul smelling stools to now darker, more solid stools, which I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Let's stick with the solid stools rather than the gray mess.
Yeah. No, I think people also overthink the colubrids a little bit in terms of feeding, because like with the pines and like older colubrids, like I'm finding like the pines and the Trans-Pecos and even the black milk, like I don't know, you can give them 2-3 weeks off food and then feed them a couple weeks in a row and then feed every 2 weeks, and you don't actually, like, people were, I remember listening to videos where or podcast where people were like, oh, I feed my bull snakes or my pine snakes 2 medium rats a week, or a medium rat every week, and I'm kind of finding that that's a little excessive, honestly. Like you could
just for adults though,
but
right, Mike? Like the way your
yeah.
frequency, you're talking about adults. Like you wouldn't do that to a neonate.
No.
A
Like
baby bull
babies,
snake,
like
right?
I feed my colubrids weekly. Maybe give them the odd week off, right? Like there's no reason to keep them fat all the time, because they'll hold weight for sure, kind of thing. And like sometimes you give them the odd week off. Like if you go away, like it's no big deal. Like in I think we still keep them. Obviously, people still keep snakes a little too thick, kind of thing, right? Like even the Trans-Pecos, when they're breeding, like they put on weight quickly after stuffed legs eggs. Like my female Kentucky, within a couple months, her size is back, and they don't lose any weight during brumation, kind of thing. And even when the male goes off food during breeding season for a month, like he's basically the same weight, kind of thing. He can feed it a couple medium rats after that, and then he's back to kind of what he's doing. I think people kind of overthink that a little bit. Obviously, babies, you're like, especially indigos, and like species like the sulphurus that Jason Hood works with, that he talks about, where they actually can go through like a couple medium rats and a handful of chicks, and they're kind of ready to go the next week or two. Like that's a different animal, right? Like that's an animal that's kind of from the Amazon, where the ambient's even higher, and they can get that 100-degree basking spot in between the leaves, and they're actively moving and all that, right? But I've also thought over time with, like, say the pine snakes, where they're almost the same as the indigos, where yeah, their average body temp when they've tracked them in Louisiana and whatnot is in that like high 70s, right? Like 77 or something was like their happy medium over throughout the whole day. Uh, but then you hear the stories of Ron finding them on his road, right? Or the FedEx driver running them over on his road with the Florida pines.
Yeah.
And it's like 110 degrees out. So it makes me almost want to throw a basking bulb on them and keep them in a cooler room and kind of see how that changes stuff, right? Like they do perfectly fine in, like, now my room's basically ambient. Like I keep heat panels and that on my Trans-Pecos and that, but they're set to like 80 or 85 maybe. Like if it's a little, like, depending on the heat, like I'm only trying to give them like an 80-degree, like 80 low 80s hotspot kind of thing, depending on how the room acts, depends on how often, right? If the room's a little cooler, it might turn on a little more because it's picking up the back wall of the cage, which may be cooler than the actual inside of the cage, right? But it's kind of more like a safety net more than a actual full on hotspot. But it really makes me, when you hear about those guys, like, seeing that in the wild and herping for them, it's like, I wonder how they would be if you kept them with a 100-degree hotspot or even a 90-degree hotspot with a bulb, because obviously bulbs give off a different type of radiation than a heat panel or a heat tape, which obviously are successful for us, but it just makes me think and want to play with stuff and maybe do the odd display cage in the living room eventually with a basking bulb on a pine snake to see kind of what they do, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they have the ability to get away from it, I think you touched on it, and I think that so many people in the hobby, and all of us have the tendency to way overthink a lot of stuff, and we kind of set up parameters and guidelines that keep us from doing certain things with the animals that may actually be beneficial for them, just because we've heard it repeated so many times and so many people have successfully done it without X, Y, or Z, or or with X, Y, or Z, and then it sort of sets a standard in your head that, well, you can't possibly do it without that. But it's like my diamonds are outside and they might lay on a surface that's 113 degrees, and and then the winter will come and they'll get down to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and or just above freezing. And so yeah, I mean, I think that we kind of maybe baby them and coddle them, and even the whole, I'm really back and forth on the whole debate of we feed too much or we feed too little. I mean, you very rarely hear anybody right now say that we feed too little. It's mostly in the other direction where people say that we feed too much. And then I recently saw an image of a Burmese python that was captured, and they euthanized it and did a necropsy, and loaded with eggs. I mean, my word, like 50 eggs plus, I believe. But the fat stores, you could see all of the fat everywhere, loads of it, tons of fat, which was really interesting, right? Like if you were to look at this animal, and if somebody were to show you a picture, sans eggs being there, you might look and say, oh my gosh, this was a captive, pet that was way overfed and ate way too much. But this was a Burmese python out in the wild, where so you hear out in the wild and you'd think that automatically would have
Florida wild or like
Florida wild. Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say or Myanmar wild, because I feel like those would be two different types of wild.
Right. And they're protected there. So you're probably not going to find Burmese pythons getting slashed open, in their native range, as much. So it would be difficult to do a comparison, but that was a topic on my Discord, and Sean Perry from Sound Serpents was even talking about some of the fat stores that have been observed in wild pythons and boas that have had necropsies done. And so I don't think that all I'm saying is I don't think that they're starving to death out in nature. I mean, clearly, or you wouldn't have these giant mainland retics and enormous rock pythons, right? Like they're not clearly they're getting energy and they're growing on it, so it's one of those things where, God, I wish we could do a study and just know how often they're eating. How often do they eat?
Probably not often. Do you remember how, like, I don't really know where it comes from, but from one of the podcasts, we're talking about how they had a snake that only eats 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh,
not
yeah,
even,
the
you know what I'm talking
Ingram's
about?
brown snake from Australia, and it was fat, eating 2
And it
or
was
3
fat,
times a year.
and it had body storage, and this was an animal that would eat, the equivalent of 2 meals a year or not even, and it still had body fat, right? Like I've said it actually right at the start of the podcast. I sometimes feel like I don't feed enough.
Yeah.
Right. Like because I just forget. Like I don't think the animals need to eat often. So sometimes I'll go and I'm like, as I said today, it's almost been a month since my last feeding. I'm like, man, like I neglect my animals. But then I go downstairs and I look at it and I'm like, you're a little chunky. You're a little chunky. I got to be careful, and like things like that. So, I mean, I joke around the fact that I think I don't feed enough, but honestly, I probably still feed too much.
Sure.
Because I look at my animals and like most of them are a little chunky, and like the girls that have laid have already bounced back. Like they already look perfectly healthy, except one. One's still looking skinny. But all the other ones, like they've had 3-4 meals now, and they are plump, round, and you wouldn't even tell that they gave birth, or I'm saying gave birth, laid eggs.
Sure.
yeah, I don't keep boas, man. That's so slimy and weird when they give birth. Like I don't even know how to do that. It would be cool, but I've never experienced that. So anyway, just going back, like they buy like one meal, the amount of efficiency in taking those calories out of whatever it is that they eat is just incredible. And I would bet to say that most of the pythons we keep probably could survive no problem on 2 to 3 meals a year.
Mm.
Like the fact, like for me, my collection, nothing, like 5 months of the year that I do not feed anything at all, right? And
Yeah.
when you think of that, like it is mind blowing. Like for 5 months of the year, I literally don't feed. And I'm one of the believers that I don't even feed my babies. I literally stop feeding everything,
Mm.
and they do great. I have zero problems, and I still have slightly obese snakes. Like my snakes are a little chunky, right? And I stop feeding for 5 6 months of the year. I only feed seldomly, but when I feed, I will admit it, I do feed big meals, but I
Mm.
don't feed, I feed very not often at all. So I don't know, just
Yeah, I
as
mean,
you,
it's you know, I fasted all my snakes through the winter this year, and it was pretty wild. It was pretty eye opening, you know, to go from the end of October into mid February, maybe March, and look at all of them, and they're totally fine and content. Honestly, I feel like they don't even have a food response after a while. You know, like it's toned way down. You know, it's almost like once their metabolism slows down and their organs shrink, it kind of takes them out of uh that growth mindset, you know, and they kind of just simmer down. But they all look fantastic. You know, they were
there's no weight loss. They
there's no
visually
weight
look
loss.
identical as before you put them down. You know what I mean? Like before you stop
Yeah.
feeding them.
Yeah, I mean, my female diamonds outside, uh, they weren't even 2 years old yet, and they fasted all winter living outside, and I was blown away. You know, and I remember bringing them inside one night on a really cold night, and just being in awe of their body composition without eating at that young of an age. You know, snakes are incredible animals, and they're not dogs or cats or people, and I think that it would really benefit the community to sort of set a standard that if you have a boa or a python, they should not eat for a duration of the year, you know, and they should have that rest and that time off from growing constantly.
Yeah, I think that's the key to longevity for reptiles. Okay, I'm saying reptiles, but let's be honest. I'm talking about mainly pythons and probably a lot of boas too. Like it's
Well, that
that.
would be true for colubrids, right? Because they
Yeah.
go through their
Oh, they.
brumation where they're not eating for, well, like up here in Canada, right? Like we got
Yeah.
snow
Nothing eats.
May long weekend, right? So like there's some populations of animals. Well, I guess like there is a population of garter snakes up in the Northwest Territories. They're probably in brumation for 8 months of 8 months of the year, right? So
It's crazy when you think about it.
Mm.
Like just insane.
Well, I
Yeah.
know you guys have been trying to wrap up for 30 minutes, and
oh no,
Honestly, Adam, it's more about you. Like we're gonna wrap it up, but I try to respect other people's times, right? And this is
I
the first time
appreciate that.
where I can't give the excuse, guys. I'm sorry. I wake up in 4 hours. I gotta go to work soon. So today, for the first time, I'm actually not in a hurry, but respecting your time, I think we're gonna close it out.
I
Um,
appreciate that. I'm excited. We're gonna go see the Mandalorian and Grogu today, which
oh,
I'm excited to go see that, to have my first weekend off in a while. So take the kids and go see that. That'll be fun. I heard something like it's getting like bad reviews or something. I'm like, I don't want to hear about it. Keep that shit to yourself. What determines whether or not a movie is good to me now is if I can take my kids and we can all have fun. That's a good movie. You know, the new Superman came out, and I heard all this stuff. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. You know, and I went and saw it with my kids, and they had a blast. And Superman is sort of they made him embody kindness and being a good person, you know, and I'm like, that's I think that's a good thing for my kids to see. and to emulate that behavior. And so yeah, I'm excited to go see Mandalorian. I think as long as my kids enjoy it, we'll be good. My 8-year-old's been catching up on the Mandalorian show on Disney Plus, and so yeah, he's ready to go see it. And and you know what? I actually do consume Canadian media. Trailer Park Boys.
Oh yeah.
Oh dear.
There you go.
You know, it's the Canadian media that is the most Americanized that you cannot be. Like, oh my god, like come on.
It's such a good show.
Oh yeah. I remember watching that right out of high school.
I'm not saying anything. Such trash. Like I'm sorry.
It
like,
really resonates with me as a Floridian. And, you know, and I think you said before, you said grade 12. And as soon as you said grade 12, it made me think of Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah, I think that's like the essence of watching that. Requires some extra substances.
I mean, the guys.
This is where I walk out.
I don't even know the names of the characters, but the dude that always has the cocktail and he's like driving and he's like holding a cocktail. It's just, Julian. It's priceless.
Yeah,
it's a good show.
No,
Thank you, Canada. Thank you.
I'd like to think we've brought better things, but you know what? It's okay. Well,
maple syrup too. You guys are killing it with the maple syrup. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. It's pretty damn good. It's liquid gold, my friend. All right. I think on these lovely tangents, we should slowly close it out. So, Adam, a huge thank you for your time. I really appreciate you coming on. Honestly, I love your shows. Keep doing what you're doing. I will keep being a loyal listener. Except for that, Mike, do you have any few things you want to say before we close it out? Or
not too much. Thank you, Adam. It was awesome having you on and chatting with you for the first time. And I'll definitely, obviously, keep listen to your stuff. Even though you bring guests on that like we've never heard of, and that like I don't know if I want to listen to this, and then every time you listen to it, it's a good show. It doesn't really matter what guest you have on, even if it's guests that I don't even personally like agree with. It's still a good show, right? Like it's still, you find you're a positive person. So even with people that may have brought negative views in the past, like it's still a good show because you the way you kind of bring about the conversation is from a positive side, and I really enjoy that. But yeah,
thank you. Just don't bring up any golf courses, and I'll stay positive.
We just want to hang on when we close it out, just to make sure it uploads right. But I think it's looking all good.
Absolutely,
thank you again, and hopefully we can do a part 2 in the future.
Hell yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, and Adam, do you want to just plug your podcast, plug anything that is related to you if anybody wants to get a hold of you?
Oh yeah, if you go on to Google and type in The Expert and The Idiot, it should come up. It should bring up the YouTube channel and the Patreon and all that. If you want to support the show in any way, shape, or form, Patreon is a great way to do that. But also, if you find the latest episode, there will be a link to my Chewy store there, and to get all your reptile essentials. And that's I think I'm at official_snake_boy BOI on Instagram, and Snake Boy. So that's where you can find me. And I'm Adam Sehy on Facebook. You can find me there. I have the Expert and the Idiot page on Facebook, but I don't use it. I don't know if that's the right or wrong way to do things, but I just use my personal page for basically everything.
Beauty. Well, everybody, a huge thank you for logging on. If you want to get a hold of Michael, you can either do Reptile Rejects on Instagram, which he's the one who will be replying to you. You got Michael Gillian on Facebook. For myself, Dominic Carbonneau on Facebook, or Dom's Reptiles on Instagram. For everybody, if you're listening to us on YouTube, please click subscribe. Please, it'd be nice to have a couple more viewers. So if you can, just click if you're just listening to it without logging on. And for anybody listening to us on the audio podcasts, again, hit those follow buttons, all those kind of cool little thingies. And we appreciate you guys logging on. And as usual, we'll be usually doing one weekly show that is live. And this live show will probably air out next week, Adam. That's when we drop them. We always do a show live, and then it's dropped next Sunday. So if
Or
ever
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday,
Sometime
are we doing
next
Saturday?
week.
Saturday night?
Sometimes I release it Friday. If I don't get to it till Friday, I'm like, well, it's close enough to Saturday. I'll just release it now.
let's be honest. I'm saying all this shit. I'm doing none of it. Like I'm a lazy bastard. I'm just here for entertainment purposes. Michael's doing all the work in the background, so I'm going to take all the credit. Though I work really hard to make sure that it works all smoothly and all that. But
you do an incredible job, Dom.
Thank you, man. I'm just a pretty face, and Mike does all the work in the background. But from what I can tell, he's doing it really well. So basically, I'm doing really well too.
Yeah.
So
Dom, at 22, you've accomplished so much.
At 22, yeah. Fuck. I wish I was still 22, man. Anyway, Adam, thanks for logging on. Just don't log off yet, like
Absolutely.
Mike said. And
thank you guys for having
listening,
me. It was an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening, and have a good day. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.